Chapter 398. You bastards are really cold, you didn't even react to the death of your companions. I looked at the people opposite him and sneered. Did you forget what we just said so quickly? It's the sentence that pointed out the purpose of the organization. Bordered Soil said with a smile, not forgetting to divert his attention at this time. Eternal life and resurrection? A's pupils shrank. You mean he? No, this kind of thing is absolutely impossible. At this time, a voice came from a distance. What do you mean by impossible? Are you talking about my resurrection? In the blink of an eye, Pain appeared in front of everyone again. Seeing the sudden appearance of Pain number 2, A subconsciously looked at Pain number 1 who he killed, and saw that the previous Pain number 1 was still lying on the ground. Shadow clone? No, it was definitely him who was killed by me just now. Damn it, do they really have the ability to resurrect? Not only him but the people of the 5 great ninja villages were also shocked. Rinnegan reincarnation. Is this the mystery of the legendary dojutsu? Are you kidding me? Do you want us to fight this kind of enemy who can resurrect infinitely? Anoki suddenly said, calm down, don't let the enemy see us as a joke. Since they are still seeking the Edo Tensei, it means that this resurrection ability is definitely flawed. Hearing Anoki's voice, everyone barely calmed down. Indeed, there can't be a perfect and flawless technique in this world. My resurrection is indeed flawed, but it may not mean much to you. Pain raised his right hand again, and at the same time attacked their psychological defenses with words. Because I can't resurrect people who have been dead for a long time like the Edo Tensei, but if it's within a battle, my resurrection ability is infinite. Shinra Tensei. Taking advantage of everyone's shock, Pain ejected a powerful repulsive force, and then said indifferently, don't entangle with them, we can retreat after we catch Danzo. Although he was ready to fight Shimizu Garashi if he could avoid it, he would never foolishly stay here and meet the other party. After all, he had only relied on luck to obtain the eyes of God, while Shimizu Garashi had earned the title of God with his own strength. After being sent flying, Raza quickly steadied himself. A glint flashed in his eyes. Don't be fooled by his words. If he really has no limit like he claimed, why would he run? It's obvious that he has something he's afraid of. Empress Shomiai also reacted. That's right, they're definitely afraid of Garashi. Chase after them and don't let them escape. Upon hearing Garashi's name, the morale that had been rising and falling finally exploded. That's right, we have Lord Garashi here. The days of being enemies with that man are indeed scary, but as a teammate, it's incomparably reassuring. Not only would Leaf, but even the other 4 ninja villages were excited. Seeing this scene, Anoki couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Why did I spend so much effort to explain? It turns out that just mentioning Shimizu Garashi's name is enough. I also secretly sighed in his heart. Even this guy who has Rinnegan and can resurrect constantly is not willing to fight with Shimizu Garashi. In addition to being excited, everyone swarmed up. Because of the unexpected situation before, I specifically stated in the invitation that in addition to the guards, they can also bring 20 accompanying ninjas in case someone attacks them midway. Therefore, even if the 5 kages and the guards are not counted, there are 100 ninjas present, plus the samurai of the Land of Iron. It can be said that they have gathered enough power to shake the ninja world. Various 5 elements released jutsu and even Kekkei Genkai ninjutsu were mixed together, converging into a torrent of chakra, rolling down in a mighty manner. In the face of this powerful attack, Gikido took 2 steps forward and opened his arms to embrace it in the eyes of everyone. Like a whirlpool, this mighty chakra torrent was completely absorbed. However, he also seemed to have eaten too much, his whole body was bloated and swollen, and he could hardly move. Seeing this, Pain directly threw out a black nail and killed Gikido, intending to refresh his status through resurrection. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes twitched wildly. Even if he can be resurrected, this method of killing his companions is too skillful. Is it similar to the ability of Nether Release to absorb chakra? But his absorption limit is much higher than ordinary Nether Release. Taking advantage of the gap between the 5 ninja villages, Chikishodo instantly summoned a large group of summoned beasts, such as Hell Crab, Splitting Hound, Yatsuki, and so on. These huge and numerous summoned beasts shocked everyone. How can a person contract so many different species of summoned beast? Compared with the huge size of these summoned beasts, the others were very inconspicuous, but the degree of strangeness was still above Chikishodo. Shirato and Uzumaki directly pulled out their right wrists and launched a large number of rockets from it. Although Raza has never seen this kind of weapon, he instinctively perceived the danger and hurriedly pulled a huge wave of gold dust between the 2 sides. The rockets fired by the 5 people at the same time hit the sand wall, and the sand wall was blown up in an instant. The scattered gold dust became like bullets under the acceleration of the air wave, shooting toward the Allied forces. Fortunately, Inoki summoned a huge wall in time, blocking all the gold dust that was randomly shooting at them. What a strong power! What kind of escape mechanism is this? Raza's eyes widened, and for the first time he felt that his puppet technique was behind the times. The power of their puppets was simply too different compared to the other side. Originally, he was hoping that everyone would work together to open the situation, but seeing them shocked, Ryuma shouted anxiously, "Please don't hold back. If this continues, I don't know where Naruto-sama will be taken to." Of course he was worried. He still remembered the perverted look in Kakuzu's eyes when he looked at Danzo-sama. What if some evil photos were to spread tomorrow? Hearing Ryuma's request, AI said in a deep voice, "Don't test it, let's fight directly. I'll go first, you guys cover." After that, he turned into a thunderbolt and rushed directly into the enemy's camp. He's really as reckless as his father. Inoki raised his hands and light flashed in his hands. Except for Pain's 5 pats, several people were nervous. The biggest deterrent of dust release was before it was launched. Even if they were confident that they could avoid it, they had to pay attention to Inoki's movements. Seeing Reikage rush up, a group of Jonin no longer hesitated and used their best ninjutsu to surround him from all directions. Obviously, they learned the lesson of Gekido absorbing chakra and scattered their attacks as much as possible. "It's almost time for us to make a move," Bordered Soil whispered to Black Zetsu. Mokutan, Tree World Birth. Chapter 399. Yesterday's 2 chapters have been slightly changed. Please download the chapters again. As the last hand seal was formed, countless towering trees rose from the ground. The vines were like pythons, hanging those samurai and ninjas who were unable to dodge in time. It's actually the tree world descent that only the first generation and senior Garashi can use. Jia looked at the scene before him in shock. He took a deep breath and formed a hand seal. "With my ability, this is the most I can do." Mokutan, Tree World Descent. Everyone had yet to recover from the shock of the other party being able to use Mokutan, when they saw the ground that was covered by the forest actually surging once again. Like a green wave, all the trees that were planted before were overturned. What the hell is going on? Since when can everyone have such a powerful Kekkei Genkai like Mokutan? Could it be that they are the same as that Mizuki transplanted with Shimizu Garashi cells? However, although their Mokutan is also very powerful, it doesn't seem to be on the same level as Garashi-sama's Mokutan. Since they are both using Mokutan, why is there such a difference? What's so strange about this? You and Garashi-sama are both humans. Isn't the difference as big as their Mokutan? I meow. At this moment, a large group of giant summoned beasts trampled on the forest and galloped over. And standing on one of the split dog heads, it was none other than Gekido who was killed earlier. Seeing this, everyone was startled in their heart. Why are there so many giant summoned beasts? Did the Akatsuki establish a special force that specializes in contracting summoned beasts? That fellow has indeed revived. Every time they revive, it means that the process of reviving can be destroyed. As long as we can find their revival point, we will definitely win. These summoned beasts roared in anger. Under the control of the Rinnegan, they became terrifying killing machines. With just a single attack, the formation of the samurai and ninjas was thrown into chaos. They are just some wild beasts, there is nothing to be afraid of. Kagaya encouraged everyone. After that, he formed a seal with one hand and slapped the ground. Although he had lost his right arm, he had never given up on tempering himself all these years. Earth Release, Mountain Earth Technique. The 2 humongous hemispheres, which were as large as mountains, pushed toward each other and crushed 2 spirit beasts, which could not dodge in time. Seeing Kitsuchi's performance, Inoki nodded with relief, and then launched the long-prepared dust release towards Tendo Pain. He also discovered that this man should be the core of Akatsuki's operation. Moreover, if resurrection required a part of the body to complete, then his dust escape would be the most powerful weapon against them. AI was fighting with Pain. When he saw Inoki using the dust release while he was in Pain's blind spot, he couldn't help but be excited. There's a chance. However, as if Pain had eyes on the back of his head, he decisively aimed his right palm at himself and sent him flying with a Shinra Tensei. On the contrary, it was Reikage himself who was almost hit by the dust release. So close. But how did this guy do it? Perception ability? On the other side, the Maelstrom team of 4 unleashed their firepower without restraint. All kinds of bullets, lasers and rockets covered the sky. These weapons, which did not require any hand seals to produce great power, made the Allied forces suffer. Use long-range ninjutsu to destroy these puppets. No, their mechanical armor's defense is too high, long-range attacks won't work. Then get closer. However, as soon as they approached the other side, they were bound by some kind of curse symbol that spread out from the other side's feet. Is this a seal technique? Are you kidding me? How can these puppets have a seal? And it's a very high-level seal technique. Noticing the situation of the Maelstrom team of 4, Empress Shomiai used lava release, dissolving monster technique. Compared with the 5 attribute release technique, the highly corrosive lava release was just the nemesis of the steel shell on these puppets. Naturally, the 4 couldn't wait for the enemy to attack, but just as they were about to dodge, the golden dust that had been blown up before drifted into the gaps of their puppets, making their dodging movements slow down. Seeing that it was too late to dodge, the 4 opened their mouths and fiercely sprayed flames from their throats. Most of the strong acid was burned and evaporated, but a part of it fell on the puppets, and in an instant, a white mist appeared, and the originally hard mechanical shell was scorched black holes at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this, those who originally thought that Empress Shomiai was young and her strength was average were surprised and happy. Amazing, as expected of someone who can become a Shadow King. Why do I feel that this little girl is much stronger than Naruto? But at this time, suddenly there was a scream from the direction of Woodleaf. Everyone turned their heads and saw the young man who used wood release before was wrapped in a disgusting white substance, and his face was ferocious. Hurry up and save him. Should we use fire release? But what if the spores on his body are ignited? While they were still wondering if they would accidentally injure him, suddenly began to make hand seals. Wood release, woodman technique. The next moment, a huge wooden Buddha statue as huge as a mountain appeared in front of everyone in an incomparably shocking form. Is this the move that Garashi-sama used? No, it's still a lot worse, but it's already very strong. Just as everyone was shocked, hundreds of arms of the woodman slammed around. Each arm was like a rocket launcher, causing countless cracks to appear on the thick ground in an instant. The ninja warriors on the coalition side dodged in a panic while shouting, "Woodleaf kid, pay attention to me. Are you trying to betray us?" The sound of painful struggle came from the woodman. "I'm sorry, I can't control myself." "Well, it's reasonable. What the hell? Why did you become stronger after being controlled?" Standing on top of the woodman's head, Zetsu laughed. "Of course, it's because I'm super compatible with him." Black Zetsu pulled himself away from White Zetsu early, and then let the most talented Whirlpool White Zetsu replace him. After all, it's a battle where Shimizu Garashi may appear, and he doesn't want to meet that guy. A, who was cooperating with Inoki to attack Pain's 4 paths, saw this situation, and his heart kept sinking. Although he had overestimated the Akatsuki organization, he didn't expect that their strength was far beyond his imagination. If it weren't for Shimizu Garashi, the enemy would have been fighting and retreating, and they would probably not be opponents of this organization. Although it doesn't represent the full combat power of the 5 major ninja villages at present, the Akatsuki organization doesn't necessarily come out in full strength. Thinking of this, he only felt heavy in his heart, and at the same time he couldn't help but think, is the reason why the ninja world can have the current stability on the surface because of Shimizu Garashi's deterrence. Chapter 400. While Reikich's heart was heavy, Pain frowned slightly. This group of fishes is really difficult to deal with. Should I use Shinra Tensei on them? This technique requires all the chakra in the body of the 6 paths, and Tendo will not be able to use ninjutsu for a long time. This is just a side issue. The real trouble is that this technique will reduce the lifespan of the body. This is different from the Rinnegan that slowly squeezes the life potential. This kind of direct reduction in lifespan can't be replenished with life energy. Moreover, Conan deliberately reminded him before he came, if he messed up, Conan will be angry, right? Just as he was thinking about whether to use a big move or not, suddenly, a very powerful chakra broke into his perception range and approached them at a very fast speed. This kind of chakra can only be Garashi, Pain said to himself, and suddenly remembered the Chunin exam 8 years ago. He withdrew halfway in order to hide the Rinnegan, and now he finally has a chance to fight with Akatsuki. Hoodlum, Sasori, you retreat, I will cover you. After hearing Pain's words, the members of the Akatsuki were stunned for a moment, but they quickly reacted. Is that man coming? I don't want to meet him. In contrast, the members of the Allied forces were in high spirits. Great, Garashi-sama is coming. Stop them, don't let them run away. Pain looked at them coldly. Those who get in the way will die. In the direction of Sasori and Hoodlum's escape, a huge monster with 9 eyes closed suddenly appeared. Compared with it, the previous giant psychic beasts were like small mice. What is this? Is it also a psychic beast? It's so big it must be very clumsy to move. Let's go around it. This Ghetto Mazo was naturally summoned by Nagato in advance, but because the consumption of the Ghetto Mazo is relatively large, it also has a certain impact on the body. Although the Chakra Dragon's ability to devour souls is strange, it's not difficult to avoid it as long as you are familiar with it. Therefore he had not used it before. At this moment, the chakra condensed in the Ghetto Golem's mouth split into dozens of chakra dragons and pounced on the enemy. What kind of escape technique is this? First, use Earth Escape to defend. The few people at the front had no time to dodge and subconsciously used Earth Escape to defend themselves. However, the materialized chakra dragon actually pierced through the earth wall in an instant. Under the horrified gazes of the few people, it pierced through their bodies. Plop. Those who were pierced by the chakra dragons or even slightly touched by them, fell straight to the ground. Everyone was horrified at the sight, and those who were still chasing after them hurriedly hid behind them. What kind of ability is this? It's too strange. Putting aside the fact that it can penetrate the defenses of Earth Escape, as long as you touch it, you'll be insta-killed. Not to mention them, even the 4 shadows were shocked. This kind of chakra dragon that can kill anyone who touches it without the slightest ability to resist is too terrifying. The Ghetto Golem roared, and the chakra dragons became restless again, chasing after the people like the Grim Reaper. However, after being prepared, the Ninja Coalition was obviously not so easy to kill. Although they fled in embarrassment, no one was hit. Pain was not too surprised by this result. When he used this technique for the first time, he killed the hidden rain ninjas like cutting melons and vegetables, but against Hanzo he easily escaped. Although these ninjas are far from being comparable to Hanzo, they are still Jonin, and compared to the hidden rain ninjas at that time, they are much stronger. But I can still do something. Pain raised his hands and opened them to the left and right sides. Bensho Tensei. The ninjas on his left and right sides flew towards him uncontrollably. If it was a normal situation it might not be a big deal, but now is the time when the chakra dragons are raging. Losing control of the body means death. Seeing that the chakra dragons were about to hit them, the ninjas who were pulled by gravity couldn't help but scream in horror. Don't come over. Help. At this moment an almost solid soul pressure spread out. The bodies of the chakra dragons froze and then directly collapsed. Pain was also affected, and the gravity that pulled everyone loosened, allowing them to regain control of their bodies. We are saved. But what happened just now? Pain looked in a certain direction with some disbelief. How did you do it? Or soul? You actually affected me and the chakra dragons in this way. In that direction, Garashi jumped down from the tree lightly and laughed softly. This kind of thing, of course, can be done if you want to. Hearing the conversation between the two, everyone looked at Garashi with shock and admiration. Worthy of the god of ninjas, I have never heard of aura that can have this kind of effect. The chakra dragons that we can't even fight against, don't even have the ability to face him. Sure enough, he is super powerful. Pain was shocked in his heart. Since mastering the ability of Rinnegan, it was the first time he felt pressure. At this time, the huge wooden puppet that pretended to be calm suddenly attacked, hundreds of arms like a storm madly slapped down. For a while, the ground collapsed, and Garashi was also buried by this violent attack. It's too despicable, it's a sneak attack. Garashi-sama, he will be fine. Garashi-sama is the god of ninjas. How can he lose to this kind of pirated goods? Although there were some worries in everyone's heart, they were more confident. After all, Garashi-sama has never lost. The next moment, an incomparably huge Buddha statue stretched out from the dust, and the wooden puppet that was still trying to slap it staggered and was almost pushed down by the sudden appearance of the Buddha. Compared with the previous wooden puppet, the difference between the two was like a giant and a dwarf. The action of the wooden puppet hitting the Buddha was more like a child hitting the knees of an adult with a small fist, which looked funny. Let me teach you what the wood escape technique is. As soon as his voice fell, Garashi manipulated the 1,000 arms of the huge Buddha statue to attack together. As if the sky was falling, the earth trembled violently, and the seemingly incomparably powerful wooden puppet disintegrated instantly. In the midst of the flying sawdust, an arm grabbed armor that fell from it, and with a gentle twist of the finger, the spore body that wrapped him was quickly rubbed off. I'm saved. Armor gasped, standing on the palm of the Buddha statue, looked at Garashi with admiration and shouted, Garashi, San, thank you so much. In the distance, Ryoma, who was injured by a few accelerated pebbles and sawdust, looked at this scene angrily and felt uncomfortable. Armor, how dare this guy? He doesn't know that Shimizu Garashi is Danzo-sama's? Wait, Danzo-sama? Thinking of this, Ryoma's face turned pale and shouted, "Go save Naruto-sama." Chapter 401. Hearing Ryuma's call, everyone had a strange expression. That Naruto-sama. Can he really be saved? Although they all felt that Woodleaf should prepare the ransom in advance or prepare the next Naruto, they still reluctantly followed. Seeing them rush over, the Geto Mazo roared and rushed forward to block them. Every punch and stomp of its feet were all calamity-grade attacks. Even without the chakra dragons, its body that contained extreme power was also a great deterrent. Then the huge Buddha statue under Garashi's feet quickly met the Geto Mazo. Because it has no soul, it is not afraid of the sudden attack of the chakra dragon, and the Buddha statue's strength is not inferior to the Geto Mazo. The two monsters directly fought in close combat. From a distance it looked like two mountain gods fighting with their bodies. Every collision can cause a large earthquake, making the surrounding people unable to stand still. Seeing this disaster-level battle, and the root cause is the summoned beast summoned by the two, Mifune was shocked and secretly sighed. Although the training experience and secret training books sent by Sir Aizen in the past 3 years have made the samurai grow a lot, but compared to the ninjas who occupy the mainstream of this world, we are still too far behind. At least he can't imagine how the samurai will deal with this disaster beast. Slashing with a sword may not even scratch its skin. Seeing this, Pain frowned slightly. His several bodies are clones. Even if all of them die, it doesn't matter. But even so, he is not sure if he can hold off Shimizu Garashi, not to mention that there are still people from the 5 major ninja villages here. Uncle Aizen's helper should have appeared, right? Just as he was thinking secretly, a low voice sounded behind him. You go intercept the others, I will deal with him. However, I can help you intercept him for 3 minutes at most, I can't do more than that. Hearing this voice, Pain looked back in surprise. Behind him, a man wearing a mask stood calmly. He is Aizen. Wait, why are his eyes Byakugan? Pain's pupils shrank slightly and through the mask he saw a pair of pure white eyes. Is he from the Hyuga clan? It's not that he looks down on the Byakugan, but most people in the shinobi world think that the Rinnegan is higher than the Sharingan and the Byakugan. Otherwise, during the Warring States period, it wouldn't be the Uchiha clan that was on par with the Senju clan, but the Hyuga clan that was much easier to awaken than the Sharingan. Moreover, if the Hyuga clan has such a strong person, they wouldn't be bullied by Danzo. Is it the same as Kirin's Ao, who secretly took the Byakugan? No matter how he guessed, Kirito had already walked up to him with heavy steps. Although I don't want to stop you, you've received benefits from them after all. I have to do something. Garashi clenched his fists. Then let's try. As soon as he finished speaking, Garashi appeared in front of him like lightning, his clenched fist swinging down like a hammer. Boom. The punch that produced a sonic boom sent Kirito flying and smashed into the ground like a cannonball. The earth trembled and a large number of rock layers collapsed, burying the enemy directly in the ruins. The allied forces in the distance were shocked. When they saw that person coming to stop them, they thought that it was some kind of super strong person, but it turned out to be this. After all this time he's just courting death. I can do it too. Yeah. I didn't expect. Wait, that guy is still alive. Kirito rushed out of the ground. Except for some damaged clothes, he didn't have any injuries on his body. He actually took Garashi-sama's punch head-on. I heard that the Rokubi was seriously injured by Garashi-sama. Seeing that Kirito was unscathed, Pain was also relieved. Sure enough, you have some skills. At least he knew that he couldn't take this punch with his body alone. Garashi showed a hint of surprise. How did you do it? Because the invincibility only lasted for 1 minute, in order to create the image of Kirito's invincible defense, Garashi rushed forward and beat Kirito violently. Everyone present couldn't even keep up with the speed of his punches. They could only see the afterimages and the ripples in the surrounding space. The enemy was constantly sent flying at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Occasionally they would fall to the ground and in an instant, a long and narrow gully was plowed in the ground. When they accidentally hit the Geto Golem, even the Geto Golem was sent flying by the transmitted force. Everyone was terrified. Although Garashi's taijutsu wasn't as flashy and difficult to deal with as Hayatan and Mokutan, it was far more powerful in terms of attack power. At least, they couldn't imagine how strong the aftershock was to be able to send the Geto Golem flying. But what shocked them even more was that the person who came out of nowhere actually took all of Garashi's attacks. Was this guy a diamond spirit? Seeing that the image was almost created, Garashi stopped and stood up. It should be some kind of ability, right? You neutralized all of my attacks and even my mental attacks. Kirito didn't answer. He just asked, do you want to come again? Instead of wasting time on you, it's better to restrain you directly here. After saying that, Garashi symbolically made a hand seal. Mokutan, entanglement of roots. The ground under Kirito's feet suddenly grew a large number of tough roots and bound his body. Seeing that Garashi was about to leave, Kirito said, do you really think that I only know how to defend and not attack? In the next moment, the solidified chakra opened its roots and quickly expanded outside his body, finally turning into a huge armored samurai shining with a pale golden light. Indra was able to open Susa with only 3 tomo, and Uchiha Madara was able to open Susa without eyes. Garashi's spiritual power and attainments in Yin style were even above them. Even if it was only his second attempt, he could open Susa to its full form without any burden. Looking at the huge armored samurai, the surrounding ninjas were once again horrified. Not to mention the huge size, just the bright light of the chakra alone was enough to scare them. Even the tailed beast seemed to be inferior to this terrifying armored samurai. What kind of ability is this? It's amazing. Not only is his defense invincible, but even his attack is so powerful. I think I saw Byakugan under the mask before. So Byakugan is so powerful? I thought Byakugan was an obscene dojutsu specialized in seeing through things. Seeing this familiar scene, Black Zetsu, who was secretly observing, rubbed his eyes subconsciously. Since when can Byakugan open Susa? And it's the full form of Susa. I can't bear to learn it. Be careful, Sharingan will sue you for infringement. Who the hell is this guy? Could it be the branch of Himura's family on the moon? Chapter 402. He doesn't know much about the Byakugan on the moon. After all, no matter how much the Byakugan evolves, it's impossible for them to become Rinnegan, and the Byakugan has never interfered in the affairs of the shinobi world. Did Aizen go to the moon, or did he find the Byakugan when they came down? Black Zetsu thought to himself, I didn't expect that the Byakugan clan would be so prosperous that any one of them could stop Shimizu Garashi. An ordinary Manjikyu wouldn't even have the ability to stand in front of Shimizu Garashi. Most of the skeletons were weak, but the complete Susanoo might barely have the power to fight. Under Black Zetsu's expectant gaze, Kirito opened his wings and swung his katana forward. Garashi easily dodged the attack, but the katana didn't stop behind him. Kacha. The towering mountain behind Garashi was directly split into 2 halves by the katana, and the middle part was even split into a bottomless canyon. Seeing this terrifying scene, even the 4 Kages were shocked. This level of power, and he can even fly. Sure enough, he's a powerhouse beyond the human realm. Raza took a deep breath, and his heart, which was somewhat inflated because of the development of the sand crypsis, quickly settled down. Reikage is right, we can't relax for a moment. Although the hidden dangers inside the village have been solved, the outside threat is far more terrible than the inside. Empress Shomiai thought to herself while dodging Pain's attack, I must stand on the same side as Garashi. Ryuma secretly complained in his heart, when did the Hyuga clan have such a strong powerhouse? Naruto-sama was captured, was it his revenge? But why didn't he take revenge on Reikage? Kirito manipulated the Byakugan to leave countless sword marks on the surface of the surrounding mountain. The canyons and ravines on the ground crisscrossed like a spider web. Or they flew into the sky and shot wildly at the ground with bows and arrows. Each arrow was as terrible as a falling meteorite. However, these earth-shattering attacks were unable to cause any harm to Garashi. Just by waving his fists and legs, he was able to shatter these pillar-like arrows. Seeing that the arrows were ineffective, the armored warriors swooped down. Taking advantage of the gap in the opponent's dive, Shushi clapped his hands. Would release, wood dragon technique. A huge wooden dragon soared into the sky, entangling the warrior tightly. Then Garashi leaped up and punched Susanoo, smashing half of his body into pieces. The others didn't think much of it. They were just cheering. Only Black Jew was shocked. He knew how hard Susanoo's body was. Not to mention his complete form, even his skeleton form was far harder than refined steel. But now the complete body Susanoo was actually shattered in half by Shimizu Garashi's punch. This was simply outrageous. Kirito didn't care about the damage to Susanoo's body. Instead, he looked at the wooden dragon with surprise. This wooden dragon can absorb my chakra? It seems that I'll have to change my form again. After he finished speaking, the huge armored warrior that was the size of a small mountain quickly shrunk. In the end, it turned into a set of light golden armor that covered his body. Of course, the weapon and wings were also shrunk. Gold Saint Cloth, archer form. I didn't know it could be done like this. This guy really knows how to play. Black Jew praised. Of course, he knew how difficult it was to change forms. At the end of the day, Susanoo was a jutsu bestowed by the eyes. It wasn't an ability that they had. That's why the first, second, and final forms evolved. The essence of this evolution was the degree of control over the jutsu. Not only did Kirito develop his Susanoo to the complete body level, he even made changes on top of it. He turned the originally huge Susanoo into a weapon and armor. His control over chakra and yin energy was simply terrifying. Kirito, who had shrunk his body size, escaped from the wooden dragon's attack. He flew into the sky and knocked another arrow at Shushi. A golden arrow took shape in his hand. The compressed chakra arrow became very unstable. It affected the surroundings and even the light was distorted. Seeing this, Garashi loudly reminded. Be careful of the aftermath. After all, it was the ability of the other body that he was controlling. He was naturally aware of the power of this arrow. Even he did not dare to take it head-on when it was compressed from the original pillar-like giant arrow to its current size. The arrow shot out and appeared in front of Garashi as if it had crossed through space. But he didn't panic at all. He used a space-time barrier he prepared in advance to transfer the arrow away. In the next moment, a scorching sun bloomed in the sky. The blinding sunlight forced everyone to close their eyes. Then a hurricane raged from the top to the bottom. The trees were broken and rocks were sent flying. Many ninjas who didn't have time to hide were blown away by the heat wave. When the airflow calmed down, everyone struggled to stand up and looked at the scene in front of them with fear. A large hole was shot through the thick clouds in the sky. The ground was a mess. There were scorch marks everywhere. This power is terrifying. Fortunately, we have Garashi-sama here. Otherwise, this guy could defeat us all by himself. Everyone was glad. Fortunately, the arrow was transferred to the sky. If it fell on the ground, the aftermath would kill a lot of people. The attack range should be wider than my Super Shinra Tensei, but this is a single target attack to begin with. The additional AoE damage can have such power. It is indeed very powerful. Pain commented in his heart. Of course, Shimizu Shushi is even more terrifying. Not only is he strong in attack and defense, but he also has many abilities. He knows almost all ninjutsu and most importantly, his chakra is endless. Looking at the calm Garashi and the slightly panting Kirito in the sky, Pain understood that the two seemed to be on the same level, but in fact, the gap between them is huge. One is trying his best to cause a little trouble to the other, but the other is far from reaching his limit. It's like a bottomless abyss. What he can see, the allied forces naturally can also see. Great, that guy is going to lose. Of course, how can that guy who hides his head and shows his tail be Garashi-sama's opponent? Compared to this mysterious person who suddenly appeared, of course, they would prefer Garashi to occupy the throne of the world's #1. Because of the strength of this mysterious person, the fear of Garashi in the other ninja villages turned into joy at this moment. If it wasn't for Garashi, they might have followed in the footsteps of Naruto. Noticing the change in everyone's mood, Garashi secretly muttered in his heart. One of his purposes of letting Kirito come to the light is achieved. Too powerful will make people afraid, just like the Yunin rock Crypsis. They only chose to retreat temporarily because of fear. But if there are other forces of the same level in this world and they will bring a great threat, his existence will make them rely on him. Imagining it, it's like letting them gradually become Sand Crypsis. If the plan goes well, after defeating Danzo and becoming the new Naruto, I may be able to seamlessly take the position of the commander of the Shinobi World Alliance. Chapter 403. In the sky, even the color of Kirito's bow and arrow faded a lot. That golden arrow consumed too much of Kirito's chakra, and now it's difficult for him to make any decent attacks. Of course, this is only for Garashi. If it's another enemy, his remaining strength is not weak at all. After perfunctorily colliding with Garashi a few times, Kirito said to Pain with some fatigue, "My chakra is almost exhausted, the rest is up to you." It seems that it hasn't been 3 minutes, right? Although he complained in his heart, Pain also knows how difficult it is to stop a monster like Garashi for more than 2 minutes. Moreover, he shouldn't be able to catch up with Sasori and Hoodlum now. Therefore, Pain nodded slightly. "Thank you, sir." Hearing the conversation between the two, and thinking about the benefits the masked man said before, many people secretly speculated. The masked man is not a member of the Akatsuki? He just accepted their employment? So, is he really from the Hyuga clan? It's no wonder that they think so. It's unwise to be an enemy of a strong man like Shimizu Garashi for some benefits, but if the benefits are to help them take revenge on someone, then it seems to make sense. But why didn't the masked man attack Naruto himself? Did those two people threaten him to sign a contract not to attack Woodleaf at the beginning of the village? Thinking of this, A's mouth twitched. This guy's next revenge target won't be Yunin, right? He has no confidence to deal with such a monster. In the sky, Kirito's wings flapped and flew away. Pain took a deep look at Shushi. We'll meet again. After that, Pain's 4 paths, and the golem that was fighting the great Buddha disappeared in an instant. They were taken away by his body and Chikishoto. In the blink of an eye, only a mess was left on the lively battlefield. Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone only felt empty in their hearts. Although the enemy was repelled, they weren't happy at all. Because they were able to defeat the Akatsuki organization completely because of Garashi's credit. If there was no Garashi, the combined power of the 5 great ninja villages may not be the opponent of the enemy. After all, it was impossible for Garashi to be their nanny all the time. If the next time Akatsuki organization launched an attack, and Garashi didn't arrive in time, then what would they do? Waiting for death? Thinking of this, everyone's heart felt heavy. His heart was filled with fear and confusion towards the unknown. In this silent atmosphere, A suddenly said, Garashi, I suggest that you Woodleaf don't exchange for Naruto. Even if you want to exchange, don't hand over the Edo Tensei. Hearing this, Ryoma glared at him angrily. Damn it, do you know that Lord Naruto? However, before he could finish speaking, the other 3 shadows spoke as well. Yes, the threat of the Akatsuki organization is too terrible. If they get the Edo Tensei and use it to resurrect those strong people in history, it will be difficult for us to resist. The current matter is no longer just the internal affairs of Woodleaf, but a change that will affect the entire ninja world. Besides, didn't the 5th Naruto have a famous saying? For the sake of Woodleaf, any sacrifice is worth it. Now, for the sake of Woodleaf and the future of the ninja world, please let him die generously. Hearing Empress Shomiai's last suggestion, Ryoma's eyes widened. This woman is so cruel, she actually wants to use a team as a team. But the problem is that he really didn't know how to refute this. Indeed, Lord Danzo has said this many times, and there's no reason why he can't do it when it's his turn. Garashi nodded with a dignified expression. I know, but this matter can't be decided by me alone, we still need to hold a meeting in the village to discuss it. Hearing this, Ryoma's heart suddenly became cold. If it's a Hokage council, the 2 elders and Sandaime as advisors will probably try their best to protect Danzo-sama, but if it's a Jounin council, Danzo-sama will most likely die. Ryoma struggled and said, the Akatsuki organization even dares to attack the 5 Kages convention for the sake of the Edo Tensei. If we don't hand it over, Woodleaf is likely to be attacked by them. Isn't that simple? Ahaha laughed. Let Garashi-san replace Naruto and take charge of Woodleaf, isn't that enough? Do those bastards dare to take the initiative to court death? Ryoma's eyes widened. Did he say something wrong? The Jonin brought by Danzo glared at him. Naruto-sama hasn't died yet, and he, as the first confidant, wants to switch sides? Ahaha shrugged and didn't say much about this matter. As for the main content of this 5 Kages convention, I think everyone already knows the threat of the Akatsuki organization. Although I'm not sure if their real purpose is to open the wisdom, what the enemy wants to do is what we have to stop. I suggest that we open the learning of chakra and low-level ninjutsu. This kind of thing can't be easily changed with just a few words. Anoki frowned and said, the ninjas in the village rely on completing tasks and accumulating contribution points to exchange for the precious ninjutsu left by their ancestors. Now, if you open the learning of ninjutsu, what will they think? How will the village's mission mode work? Ahaha stroked his chin. Can't we keep the exchange channel for high-level ninjutsu? Raza shook his head. After all, there are only a few people who need high-level ninjutsu. For most of the genin, low-level ninjutsu is already their upper limit. Ahaha scratched his head. He was only good at simple and crude solutions. Thinking of solutions was not his strong suit. Why don't we go back and let Tsudai work overtime to think of a way? Just as he was thinking about how to persecute Tsudai, Garashi suddenly said, by the way, have you heard of the dream world I developed? Of course we have heard of it. 3 pairs of resentful eyes looked at him. For the major ninja villages, it is normal for them to plant spies in each other's houses. Naturally, they can't ignore Garashi's epic-making masterpiece. And the role of the dream world, although not immediate, is the improvement of self-discipline is real. Not to mention, the dream world has the function of going online to ask for help in the event of an emergency, or exchange learning anytime and anywhere. Therefore, of course, they have fantasies about this ability. Garashi nodded slightly. I intend to update the version and establish an interconnected network between the 5 major ninja villages. After the members of the major ninja villages complete the tasks, they can download the corresponding ninjutsu practice experience on the network, directly projecting it in their minds, and even manipulating their bodies to demonstrate it. For most ninjas, it is difficult to exchange for ninjutsu, but it is even more difficult to practice ninjutsu. Not to mention those ninjas who have no teacher and need to slowly explore by themselves. Even ninjas with the guidance of a teacher find it difficult to learn ninjutsu in a short time. And the significance of the existence of my network is to change the importance of contribution from exchanging ninjutsu to guiding practice. Chapter 404. Hearing Garashi's explanation, everyone was filled with curiosity. In the past, the practice of ninjutsu had always been done by himself or under the guidance of a teacher. How could he experience it personally like this? From exchanging ninjutsu to instructing in cultivation? I think it's feasible. Now that you mention it, it seems that contribution points are indeed useful again. However, it won't be easy to achieve this. Well, first of all, we need to gather people who know these ninjutsu, and they can't just use it, they need to be proficient in it. Hearing their discussion, Garashi smiled shyly. Although it's a bit arrogant to say this, but at the level of low-level ninjutsu, except for some secret ninjutsu, I can say that I know all mainstream ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, and fuinjutsu. Even if I don't have the thunder and fire attributes, I can simulate them in the dream world. So, when it comes to downloading ninjutsu cultivation experience, I'm still confident that I can do it. In fact, Aizen's body is the main reason why he can master both fire and lightning ninjutsu. That body was complete with all attributes. However, Reikage and the others didn't know. When they heard that Garashi was proficient in an attribute that they didn't have, their hearts twitched. This was too abnormal. A normal person would need at least 10 days to half a month to learn a single ninjutsu, but he was able to learn all the low-level ninjutsu in one go. So, compared to Sarutobi, you are more suitable for the title of ninjutsu professor. Not only compared to Sandame Naruto, even compared to First Dame Naruto, Garashi-sama is more suitable for the title of the god of ninjas than him. That's right, how can someone who only knows how to use Mokutan and is good at fighting be called the god of ninjas? Only those who are proficient in all ninjutsu are worthy of being called the god of ninja. While they were shocked, they were also overjoyed. The dream world's help for ninja training is obvious to all. Needless to say, Garashi seemed to be planning to carry out a major version update on the original local area network, which would be even more helpful. Although Raza felt that it was a pity, he was not too disappointed. After all, they had already enjoyed 3 years of benefits in advance. Moreover, the other villages may resist this kind of thing. But San Crypsis is different, they have no such psychological barriers. Shushi smiled and added, "Don't worry. One more thing, I think the current academic atmosphere in the ninja world is too dead. Everyone only knows how to learn ninjutsu, but they don't know how to develop ninjutsu. If this goes on, the overall level of the ninja world won't be improved, especially in the face of a powerful enemy like Akatsuki. We can't stay stagnant. So, I will upload the Mokutan, Hayatan, and other ninjutsu I have developed to the dream world, and I will open a new ninjutsu area for everyone to exchange. The ninjutsu in this area can only be exchanged by developing new ninjutsu or by donating unique ninjutsu." Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard Shushi say that they could even exchange for wood release. Would he's the ninja ninjutsu and the he ninjas. Not to mention, this new ninjutsu area can be exchanged for other ninjutsu developed by Rinsei. Thinking of this, someone couldn't help but ask, what's the point standard to exchange for the development method of wood release? Can you develop an S-class ninjutsu? Not everyone is Naruto. If S-class ninjutsu is the standard, then they can just go back to sleep. My initial idea is to have 6 B-class ninjutsu, or 3 A-class ninjutsu, or even 1 S-class ninjutsu. Of course, my criteria for judging the level of ninjutsu here is different from the usual difficulty classification of ninjutsu in the world of shinobi. Everyone nodded in understanding. This eliminates the possibility of artificially increasing the difficulty of practice. It was like a question that was originally very simple, but had to use many complicated methods, going around in circles, and spending most of the day to find the answer. However, their enthusiasm was still extinguished. Although the difficulty has been reduced a lot, even B-class ninjutsu is difficult to develop. The most important thing is that some of them have only mastered a few B-class ninjutsu. It's too difficult for them to develop it. At this time, Garashi added, C-class, D-class, E-class ninjutsu can also be exchanged for points, but I haven't thought about the exchange standard yet. Finally, there are 2 points I want to remind everyone. First, the development of Kekkei Genkai is very difficult. Even with my experience as a reference, it may not be successful. Second, the experience after exchange has its own seal, there is no way to teach it to others. But if you are sure that you don't have the talent to practice this Kekkei Genkai, you can specify the transfer in the dream world, but at the same time, you will be deprived of the relevant memory. This transfer can be done up to 3 times. Hearing that they can use low-level ninjutsu to accumulate, everyone's thoughts finally came alive. The best way to strengthen the foundation of a village is to create or migrate a Kekkei Genkai clan. But those who can awaken their Kekkei Genkai normally are Chunin, and the better ones are Jonin. How much effort does a village need to put in to cultivate a Jonin? But a Kekkei Genkai clan only needs to have more children. Otherwise, how can Yunin go around snatching people? Of course, the more powerful a Kekkei Genkai is, the more difficult it is to inherit. Just like Naruto's would release and Inoki's dust release, their Kekkei Genkai is very difficult to awaken. If everyone's points are concentrated on one person, they should be able to exchange it soon. A's eyes flashed. Moreover, with 4 chances, we can always find a person who is really suitable for wood release, right? Raza's eyes lit up, he was too familiar with this. During the most difficult period of Sand Crypsis, he relied on mining and selling his own ninjutsu to raise funds. Inoki was a little tangled, should I exchange dust release for points? If Wood Leaf resurrects Wusama with Edo Tensei, he can also get the method of dust release from him, then it's not as good as me. I can't think like that, Wood Leaf's people don't have Wusama's body, it's impossible to resurrect him. Seeing everyone immersed in the beautiful picture he described, Garashi's mouth slightly rose. His first step in collecting the wisdom of the ninja world has finally succeeded. Although most of their ideas may be useless, just like the internet in his previous life, you can never guess what those people on the internet can do. In Garashi's view, their ideas are a gold mine that has not been mined yet. As long as they are properly operated, they will definitely be able to harvest surprises from this wilderness. My dream world is now only radiating to the 5 great ninja villages, and after I deal with the Akatsuki, I will expand the base of leaks to the entire ninja world. At that time, I can create a beautiful situation where everyone is for me. Chapter 405. Woodleaf Hyuga Clan's Land. The clan's land, which used to be peaceful, suddenly became lively. Haha, you're welcome. Come again next time. It's okay, we didn't take it to heart. After sending away another wave of guests, several people in front of the door wiped the sweat on their foreheads and then smiled at each other. Our Hyuga clan hasn't been so lively for a long time. Humph? Isn't it because they want to inquire about the old ancestor? Speaking of which, I've never heard of such a powerful elder in the clan. I don't know, maybe it's the patriarch's secret weapon. Inside the mansion, Hizashi stared at his brother. You don't know? Hizashi smiled bitterly and spread out his hands. I'm confused myself. Hizashi hesitated and asked, do the elders in the clan know something? Hizashi shook his head. Even I, the patriarch, don't know, they don't know. Hizashi's eyes twitched. Then why did you accept the gifts from those people with a clear conscience? Hizashi sighed. What can I do? The Byakugan shown in this 5 Kage tournament, if I don't hint ambiguously, even the caged bird won't be able to stop those greedy eyes. Hizashi nodded thoughtfully, using the banner as a tiger's skin? I hope the old ancestor doesn't care. Hizashi laughed twice. Maybe he really is our Hyuga clan's senpai? When Hyuga joined Woodleaf, some clansmen chose to leave the clan because they didn't want to let go of their hatred. While the 2 Hyuga brothers were entangled with this old ancestor, in an underground laboratory. Byakugan Sharingan. Orochimaru gently shook the reagent in his hand, but his thoughts drifted to the child named Itachi that he happened to see some time ago. That kind of talent even shocked him. Thinking of this, Orochimaru sighed secretly. If it weren't for Garashi, I might have been interested in his eyes. Oh, in fact, I am also interested in the Sharingan now, but not in the interest of seizing it, but in the interest of research. Science and knowledge are the most powerful forces in the world. Even Garashi had said that his strength was built on the accumulation of knowledge. Some time ago, I went deep into the tombs of the Uchiha clan and found a few pieces of flesh that were still intact. I resurrected them with the Edo Tensei and got a lot of information about the Sharingan from them. Orochimaru pondered. Among them, the Sharingan evolved into Manjikyu Sharingan, and the Susanoo Jutsu is hosted in both eyes, and this jutsu seems to be the same as the one used by the masked man in the 5 Kages tournament. Could it be that there is a connection between the Byakugan and the Sharingan? For example, having the same ancestor. Pa pa pa. Suddenly, there was a soft applause in the quiet laboratory, and even with Orochimaru's temperament, it was difficult for him to calm down. Who is it? Orochimaru turned his head sharply and saw a mysterious man wearing a Shinigami mask leaning against the door. I didn't even notice his approach. Orochimaru's expression was dignified. If the other party had attacked him just now, he would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. Wait, Shinigami mask. Orochimaru suddenly remembered something he had read in the intelligence and asked, "Are you the masked man who rescued Sasori from the Greyer ruins 3 years ago? I heard that Sasori has joined the Akatsuki organization. You are probably a member of that organization, right?" Aizen didn't deny it and clapped his hands with a smile. "You are worthy of being the most promising of the Sannin, Orochimaru. You recognized my identity so quickly." Orochimaru didn't let down his guard because of Aizen's praise. "How did you get in?" The barrier didn't even react. Aizen shrugged. "Find someone who knows how to open the barrier. Once he leaves the village, you can use genjutsu to control him and bring me in." Orochimaru's snake eyes narrowed. He knew that the person who opened the barrier was at least an elite jonin of the village, but he was controlled by Aizen. However, when he thought about the information he had read, he didn't find it strange. After all, Aizen could control hundreds of people with genjutsu in an instant. "But aren't you looking down on Woodleaf too much? As long as I give a shout, you, a member of Akatsuki, will become a prisoner." Orochimaru threatened with malicious intent. "Woodleaf is very strong, but aren't you looking down on me too much?" Aizen laughed. "From the moment we met, our fate was determined." Orochimaru's pupils shrank. "What do you mean?" Aizen snapped his fingers. "Don't you want to catch me? Let's start now." Orochimaru was silent for a moment, then 2 white snakes came out of his sleeves and bit him. Then without looking back he broke the wall and escaped. Although he wasn't sure about Aizen's strength, there was no doubt that he was dangerous, and he was in Woodleaf's territory. He didn't need to take the risk to fight with him. If he could gang up on his enemy, he would never fight alone. This was a good habit a ninja should have. As for the sense of shame, this kind of senseless emotion was meaningless, and he would never be restrained by this kind of false existence. Orochimaru listened carefully as he ran away. There's no movement at all. It seems that he was killed instantly before he could do anything to him. But why didn't he chase after me? Is it because he is confident in his strength, or is it because of genjutsu? Thinking of Aizen's strange behavior, Orochimaru couldn't help but feel gloomy. Fortunately, he could already see the exit. Finally, Orochimaru rushed out of the door, his vision blurred, and when he opened his eyes again he was back to square one. Looking at the masked man in front of him, Orochimaru asked in a deep voice, "Is it genjutsu? When did it happen?" He was very careful, and the masked man didn't make any hand seals from beginning to end, and even chakra didn't fluctuate. Aizen laughed. "Didn't I say it? From the moment we met, our fate was determined." "When we met?" Orochimaru frowned. The masked man didn't make any move at that time. "Forget it, let's break the genjutsu first." As a Sannin, Orochimaru wasn't unfamiliar with the method of breaking genjutsu. After disrupting the flow of chakra in his body, the scene in front of him rippled like water. Just as Orochimaru breathed a sigh of relief, the masked man laughed. "Is the genjutsu really broken?" Orochimaru's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly checked his body. "Chakra is still in a chaotic state, although it's difficult for me to make a move in this state. You can't control me." "Are you sure?" As soon as the voice fell, the surrounding space shattered again. Orochimaru looked around and found himself in a boundless starry sky. "How is this possible? I clearly broke the genjutsu." Orochimaru roared in disbelief. "Sound can deceive you, vision can deceive you. Do you think chakra won't deceive you?" Aizen's voice echoed in the vast starry sky. Chapter 406. In the starry sky, Orochimaru's face was very ugly. Of course, he knew that everything in front of him was fake, but even if he knew, there was nothing he could do. "Chakra can deceive me, how is this possible?" The essence of genjutsu is to control the flow of chakra in the enemy's brain. As long as the flow of chakra is disrupted, the genjutsu will naturally be broken. This is common sense that every ninja should know. But today this common sense was broken. Even disrupting chakra didn't work, so what can he do? Kill himself in the genjutsu? Aizen's voice came from all directions like a demon's voice. How is it? Do you still want to try? Orochimaru was silent for a moment. I admit defeat. The gap between the two of them was too big, so big that he didn't even have the thought of struggling. As his voice fell, the original starry sky receded like a tide. In a trance, he appeared in the laboratory again, as if everything he experienced before was just a dream. Sure enough, I still can't see anything strange. Orochimaru sighed secretly. He has been trying very hard to observe the changes around him, but he still can't see how Aizen did it. He doesn't know how he got out of the genjutsu. It's really scary. Aizen smiled and asked, "How is it? My genjutsu is not bad, right?" Orochimaru looked at him deeply. "With your genjutsu strength, even if you can't reach the level of Shimizu Garashi, you shouldn't be far from it, but you're not famous in the shinobi world. The only time you made a move was when you controlled some small fish, deliberately avoiding the powerful ninjas. Hiding your strength like this, your ambition is definitely not small." Aizen smiled frankly. "Yes, I am a very ambitious person." Orochimaru didn't know how to respond to Aizen's frankness. How can he admit that he's ambitious? Shouldn't he say something like peace and freedom to decorate his ambition? Seeing Orochimaru's confused face, Aizen couldn't help but smile. "I came here today to invite you to join an organization." Orochimaru recovered and frowned. "Is it the Akatsuki?" "I think." "No, it's the Akatsuki." Aizen interrupted with a smile. "Akatsuki?" Orochimaru repeated, doubting his ears. "Is that surprising?" Aizen smiled. "The Akatsuki, the world is so big, do you think it's only one organization?" Orochimaru licked his lips. "This world is getting more and more interesting. Can you introduce me to the people in this organization?" Aizen crossed his arms. "Isn't that the person you were talking about when I came in?" "Yes." Is voice, "Cans of the Akatsuki, can cans the Akatsuki, can of the Akatsuki, Akatsuki, you can cans of you organizations is he?" Atsuki, Aizen nodded slightly. "Yes." Orochimaru took a deep breath. "A Akatsuki organization that I've never heard of is helping the Akatsuki to resist the enemy? Are they just your peripheral members?" "Not really." Aizen shook his head slightly. "Including you, 1/3 of the Akatsuki are our people." 1/3. Orochimaru was shocked by this news. The Akatsuki that the entire shinobi world is afraid of has been infiltrated by so many people. Then he came to his senses and pointed at himself. "Count me in?" Aizen nodded. "Congratulations on becoming a double-faced." "No, if you count Konoha, you should be a triple-faced spy." Orochimaru's eyes twitched. "Aren't you afraid that I'll sell you?" Aizen looked at him with a smile. "Do you really think you can tell the truth?" Orochimaru's face turned black. "Am I still immersed in your genjutsu?" Aizen didn't say anything. Who knows? Thinking of the mysterious genjutsu of the other party, Orochimaru felt a chill in his heart and said with a hollow smile, "Well, just pretend that I never asked this question. Well, after the invitation, it's time to talk about your mission and benefits." Aizen nodded and said, "I have benefits?" Orochimaru's face was strange. The mission was within his expectations. After all, Aizen came to him because of his ability. "Of course, my purpose has always been to give first and then take later. Only when your dreams are realized can you help me achieve my goal." Aizen said. "What a broad-minded person." Orochimaru sighed secretly and then smiled. "But, leader, you haven't asked me about my dream, right? My dream is not so easy to achieve. Isn't it the pursuit of immortality and learning all the knowledge and ninjutsu in this world?" Aizen asked. "How do you know?" Orochimaru blurted out. Even when he was controlled by Aizen's genjutsu, he wasn't as shocked as he was now. He never told anyone, not even Sarutobi-sensei, Jiraiya, and Tsunade knew what he really wanted. But this person had seen through his heart with a single glance. "Because I have a pair of eyes that can see through illusions." "See through illusions?" Orochimaru didn't say anything, but he asked, "How do you want to help me achieve my dream?" "Oh, it's not difficult to achieve this dream," Aizen said calmly. "Not difficult." Orochimaru almost doubted his hearing. If he told others about his dream of pursuing immortality, they might think that he was crazy, but the other party said that it was not difficult. Seeing Orochimaru's expression, Aizen said, "It depends on your definition of immortality. If you just want to keep your consciousness and live forever, then it's really simple. You just have to wait for death. Ha ha ha. Orochimaru's expression changed. Orochimaru's face was distorted. What kind of wisdom was this? Could he live forever without doing anything? Aizen explained, when a person dies, their soul will enter the underworld. I don't know what will happen to the weak, but for a strong person like you, your soul won't be reincarnated. Although Orochimaru felt that Aizen was being sarcastic, he still asked, why is that? Because the essence of the underworld might be someone's training ground. Aizen said with his hands behind his back. Training ground? Oh. Orochimaru wanted to deny it, but when he saw Aizen's calm eyes, he was shaken. Are you telling the truth? You can find the answer yourself. No matter how much I say, it's better than seeing it with your own eyes. Orochimaru instinctively believed Seiji's words. If it's true, then how many horrors are hidden under the surface of our world? Thinking of this, Orochimaru shook his head and temporarily abandoned his chaotic thoughts. What about the living eternal life? Chapter 407. That's difficult, but it's not impossible. Aizen said, as long as you can reach the level of Sannin of the Six Paths or his mother in the future, it's almost the same as eternal life. Orochimaru was confused. Isn't Sannin of the Six Paths a myth? Also, what the hell is Sannin of the Six Paths? Seeing Orochimaru at a loss, Aizen said, since even the Rinnegan has appeared, isn't it reasonable for Sannin of the Six Paths to appear? Orochimaru obviously wasn't so easily fooled. Since they are immortal, why don't they exist in the shinobi world? Aizen explained, Sannin of the Six Paths committed suicide, and his mother was sealed by him. Orochimaru rubbed his eyebrows. He felt that today's information was too complicated for him to digest. Aizen continued, under normal circumstances, an ordinary human wouldn't be able to reach their level even if they practice for 1,000 years, not to mention that humans can't live that long. Then I want to, of course it's not like there's no trick. Most of the power of their clan comes from their bloodline. As long as you can integrate their bloodline and trace it back to the source, then transplant the bloodline into your body, you can reach the sky in one step and achieve the leap from human to God. Aizen said. Although he didn't like the method of transplanting the bloodline, he felt that it was too dangerous, and it's impossible to surpass Otsutsuki, but he could transplant it to his subordinates. He didn't need too many, just give him 1,000 fake versions of Otsutsuki, and even if Kaguya was resurrected, he was confident that he could defeat her. When the dream he pursued for many years was put in front of him, even with Orochimaru's state of mind, he couldn't help but breathe quickly. Research in the field of biology? That's my specialty. Orochimaru now understood why Aizen came to him and asked, what are the branches you just mentioned? Senju and Uchiha Hyuga and Kaguya. Aizen said concisely. So, it turns out that the strongest Kekkei Genkai clans in the shinobi world are actually from the same clan. Orochimaru came to a sudden realization, and his expression changed. Wait, wasn't the Kaguya clan exterminated by Kirin? Aizen waved his hand. Don't worry, I've already adopted a child from the Bright Knight clan. Moreover, I can also provide you with a portion of the Otsutsuki family's bloodline samples that have been successfully atavistic. This guy is indeed far-sighted. Orochimaru's heart was filled with dread, and then he asked, then my mission after joining the organization is to study the atavistic bloodline? What are you thinking? Aizen looked at him strangely. Isn't the atavistic bloodline helping you achieve your dreams? How could it be a mission I gave you? Then what am I doing? Of course it's to cultivate our dreams. Aizen patted him on the shoulder. Of course, don't forget the mission of the two organizations while you're working hard. Both organizations have missions. Orochimaru felt that his mouth was dry. Even if he likes to study, he can't be oppressed like this, right? Is he trying to squeeze him dry? I don't think there's enough time, right? Complete the mission during the day and cultivate your dreams at night, isn't that enough? Young people should work hard, don't always think about rest. I'm young? Orochimaru was speechless, but since the other party knows so many secrets of the shinobi world, maybe he's an old antique, it's normal to call him a young man. Although he had a headache, Orochimaru finally accepted his fate and asked, tell me, what are the missions? In the Hollow, I need you to cooperate with someone in the research field. He's a researcher in the field of biology like you, but you're trying to reverse the bloodlines, while he's trying to integrate various Kekkei Genkai into a network. Kekkei Genkai? What's that? Hearing this new term, Orochimaru couldn't help but ask. Chakra fusion with 2 attributes is called Kekkei Genkai, fusion with 3 attributes is called Kekkei Genkai elimination, and fusion with 7 attributes is called Kekkei Genkai net. Aizen explained. Chakra fusion with all attributes? Orochimaru's eyes widened. There are many people who have developed Kekkei Genkai net, but only Inoki and Wu are known to have developed Kekkei Genkai net. It can be seen that the difficulty of fusing with chakra increases exponentially. The difficulty of fusing with 7 attributes, just thinking about it makes one's scalp tingle. Aizen ignored Orochimaru's gaffe and continued, as for the Akatsuki, your mission is to hand over the Edo Tensei and improve it to a certain extent. Orochimaru wasn't too surprised by this. After all, the purpose of the Akatsuki's participation in the 5 Kages tournament was to obtain the Edo Tensei, and according to the latest news he received, the idea of not saving people has prevailed. However, improving the forbidden technique developed by second Naruto, you really think highly of me. Of course, I'm very optimistic about you. At the same time in the group meeting after activating Shuriken. Since everyone is here. Yahiko skillfully said the opening remarks, then found an empty seat next to him. Huh? Uncle Aizen isn't here? Maybe he's busy with something. Nagato guessed. For example, he's thanking Byakugan-senpai. That's possible. Yahiko didn't think much about it, he knew Uncle's strength. Then let's start the meeting. Yahiko looked around and said, according to the latest information, although Woodleaf hasn't decided yet, they are inclined to sacrifice Naruto. Kakuzu squinted his eyes. This seems to be different from the original plan, right? Yahiko sighed. The original plan was to make Woodleaf unable to cover up the scandal and then directly capture Danzo, but I didn't expect that the strength we showed, or rather, the strength that Byakugan-senpai showed was too strong. They didn't dare to make the deal. Did we use too much strength? Raiga asked. Well, you can't say that. Overall, this operation was quite successful. Yahiko nodded slightly. After all, our purpose was to divert attention and attack the authority of the 5 great ninja villages, both of which were achieved. They didn't care about whether they could obtain the Edo Tensei or not, of course, except for Bordered Soil and Sasori. Noticing Bordered Soil's depression, Black Zetsu was secretly proud. He also thought about whether to stop the Akatsuki and drag them down so that they couldn't obtain the Edo Tensei. However, he changed his mind later. The more he did, the more mistakes he made. It's better to do his best to help them. As long as the 5 great ninja villages realize the threat of the Akatsuki, they will give up the Edo Tensei in exchange for the hostages. However, it's also thanks to that Byakugan, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to make them feel threatened just by controlling the wood release. Chapter 408. Sasori's voice came from the space. Since Danzo is useless, let's kill him. Bordered Soil's voice was cold. Hang his body in front of Woodleaf's door, let them know the consequences of offending us. Everyone couldn't help but mourn for Danzo for a moment. Obviously he was angry at the 2 who didn't get the Edo Tensei. However, they didn't have the intention to speak for Danzo. Useless guy, let him die. Kakuzu's eyes flashed with silver light. Before killing him, it's better to let me use the trash. Seeing this, Black Zetsu laughed sinisterly. Is it really okay to kill Danzo? Kakuzu wasn't happy. What do you mean? Black Zetsu said. Think about it, if Danzo is dead, who will be the new Naruto? Shimizu Garashi. This name appeared in everyone's mind. You know? Black Zetsu shrugged. Do you think it's better for a trash to be Naruto? Or Shimizu Garashi to be Naruto? Nagato said. For the organization, it's naturally better for Danzo to be Naruto. Isn't that the case? Black Zetsu said. Letting Danzo go back to being Naruto will not only split Woodleaf, but also make Shimizu Garashi uncomfortable, so he won't have time to hinder us. But the problem is, can he still be Naruto? Conan doubted. He was caught in front of everyone, and in such a shameful way even the people in the village have almost given up on him. Normal people wouldn't have the face to continue being Naruto, right? How do you know he's normal? Black Zetsu affirmed. This blow won't make him give up at all. Everyone nodded thoughtfully. Yes, that Naruto doesn't seem to be the kind of person who cares about face. However, is there any point in being a Naruto who is deserted by everyone? Conan sighed. That's good. We can make him interesting. Black Jew smiled. What did you say? Conan asked, puzzled. Work with Danzo. Black Zetsu said confidently. Now that he has completely lost his power, only we can help him. Conan looked doubtful. We took him away in front of the 5 great shinobi villages, making him lose face. He hates us too much, how can he cooperate with us? In this world, only benefits are eternal. It's not strange to let go of hatred for benefits. After that, he looked at Black Jew. What I'm more confused about is, what's the use of working with him? Even if he could return, he would most likely become a puppet, right? That's why he wants us to help him. For us, as long as he still has the name Naruto, he still has value. But you still ignored one thing. Yahiko said. Danzo isn't smart, but his attitude towards Woodleaf doesn't seem to be fake. In this case, will he betray Woodleaf and cooperate with us? Is cooperating with us betraying Woodleaf? Black Zetsu smiled. Believe me, he will find a reason to convince himself. In any case, there's nothing to lose by trying. That's a good idea. Aizen agreed sincerely. All right. Black Zetsu smiled proudly, then looked to the side. Huh. When did you come in? The space was dark and everyone was in phantom form. If one didn't pay attention, it would be hard to notice someone else. I came in as soon as you started talking. Aizen looked at him with a faint smile. I didn't want to disturb you because you were so excited. He was worried about how to destroy the power of Danzo and the 2 advisors, but Black Zetsu took the initiative to hand him the knife. Like this time, although Danzo lost a lot of face, at most he would resign from the position of Naruto. If he just wanted the position of Naruto, he could have done it 3 years ago. As for the things that Danzo did before, it was difficult to find evidence. Most of them were against Sandaime, and even Sandaime himself didn't care. It wouldn't be easy to completely destroy Danzo. Of course, if he didn't want to follow the rules of the game with his strength, it would be easy to kill Danzo and the others. But doing so would leave a hidden danger. He didn't want the perfect image that he had maintained for more than 10 years to be destroyed because of Danzo. In the future, he wanted to use this perfect image to fool the 6 paths. Therefore, he used the silent method to make Danzo lose face and be abandoned by the village. In the end, he lost all hope and went to the extreme. Only in this way could he get hold of Danzo's weakness and take the opportunity to break Woodleaf's structure. Speaking of which, it's my fault for being too strong. Aizen thought to himself, if it weren't for my deterrence, he wouldn't have been so afraid to go to the extreme. Black Zetsu didn't realize that he had revealed all his plans in front of Aizen, and he continued, as for the use of Naruto Danzo's name, I think there are many ways. For example, we can use Danzo's position as Naruto to hold a 5 Kage convention in a few years. At the convention we can control the other 4 Kages, and then when Shimizu Garashi isn't paying attention, we can use the 4 Red Yang formation to lock him inside. In this way, wouldn't the shinobi world be ours? The idea is good, but... Yahiko rubbed his chin and asked, how do you plan to control the 4 Kages? Black Zetsu smiled, I'm just providing an idea. If we don't get suspected, we can find the 4 Kages. Well, I knew it wouldn't be that easy. Yahiko sighed. Only 4 Kage tier ninjas could use the 4 Crimson Yang formation, and with such strong ninjas gathered together, it would be hard not to alert the enemy. After talking about Danzo, Yahiko looked at Aizen curiously. Uncle, were you delayed by something? Aizen smiled slightly. Yes, I was inside Woodleaf's barrier, and it was inconvenient for me to hold the meeting. Woodleaf. Everyone looked at him in surprise. 4 powerful ninjas like them, there is no place they can't go, but Woodleaf is taboo. After all, it's Shimizu Garashi's territory, and he must have left the Flying Thunder God Jutsu in the village. Once they're discovered, they'll have to face Shimizu Garashi. Conan was surprised. Uncle, why did you go to Woodleaf? It's dangerous there. Aizen explained with a smile. I went to invite a newcomer and ask him to teach me the Edo Tensei Jutsu. Edo Tensei Jutsu. Sasori and Bordered Soil were overjoyed, but Black Zetsu froze. Damn it, he was backstabbed by Aizen again. Chapter 409. After the ecstasy, Sasori was moved. Aizen-sama didn't forget his promise. After my failure, he risked his life to sneak into Woodleaf and found me the Edo Tensei. Bordered Soil was in a dilemma. I've targeted him several times. What if he doesn't want to teach me the Edo Tensei? What should we do? What should we do? Black Zetsu's brain was spinning rapidly. If we want to stop Bordered Soil, this is the only way. Compared to the 3 of them, the rest of the people were more focused on the operation itself. He can even learn the Edo Tensei. Aizen-sama, you didn't poach someone from Woodleaf, did you? Kisame asked. He stole it from the Book of Seals. As for the name, you don't have to guess. After all, Shimizu Garashi is outside, and he doesn't want to officially betray the village. Aizen said, I have to take care of the newcomer's feelings. That's right, Konoha's ninjas are much more dangerous than us. Kisame laughed. After understanding the situation, Yahiko said with emotion, Uncle, it's really hard for you. The subjective initiative of the others is really too poor, they don't have the same master spirit as Uncle Aizen. If everyone can be like Uncle Aizen, then why worry about the great cause of the ninja world? I didn't participate in the last war, I have to do something outside of it. Aizen shook his head slightly. You can't say that, without the Byakugan-sama you found, we would be in danger this time. Yahiko said and suddenly asked, By the way, Uncle, your friend asked us to collect Kekkei Genkai, how do we give it to him? Just give it to me, I will give it to him. Oh. Yahiko nodded and said, Today's meeting is over, do you have any questions? I have a question. Bordered Soil raised his hand and looked at Aizen. Aizen-sama, can you give me a copy of the Edo Tensei? Bordered Soil looked at him nervously. Aizen smiled gently. Of course, we are companions of the same organization. Bordered Soil was moved. I wronged him before, Aizen-sama is a good person. After the meeting, under the land of grass, Obito opened his eyes, stood up, and excitedly performed a set of messy punches. Great, I can finally see Rin. Yes, Bordered Soil. Congratulations. By the way, are you planning to start practicing the Edo Tensei now? Black Jew asked with a fake smile. Obito nodded solemnly, the sooner I succeed in my cultivation, the sooner I can see Rin. Is that so? Then I won't bother you for the next few days. Black Zetsu said and walked out. Bordered Soil was puzzled. Where are you going? Didn't I say it at the meeting? I'm going to win Danzo over. Black Zetsu explained. Is that so? Bordered Soil nodded. Then you have to hurry. When he returns to Woodleaf, it'll be risky to win him over. Ah yes. Then I'll go first. After Black Zetsu left, Bordered Soil sat down and concentrated on the Edo Tensei. Half an hour later, Bordered Soil opened his eyes in annoyance. Damn, I'm too excited, I can't calm down. Bordered Soil shook his head. Forget it, I'll prepare the ritual to revive Rin. As a vessel for the sacrifice, I've already ordered one from Sasori. It's made according to my memory of Rin's body shape. Wait, isn't this the same as Sasori seeing Rin's? No, don't think too much, it's just a puppet body. Bordered Soil forced himself not to think in a certain direction, and then continued to talk to himself. A certain amount of the deceased's body? Where am I going to find this? Right, the cemetery. One day later at night. In Woodleaf's war cemetery, a dark figure was sneakily rummaging through the cemetery. Mitaru Tarwa-ani? Damn, where is she? Found it, Rin no Era? Looking at the tombstone in front of him, Black Zetsu was secretly relieved. After carefully looking around, Black Zetsu dug up the tombstone and soon found a small coffin. As long as I destroy Rin's body? No, that's too much, it may arouse Bordered Soil's suspicion. It's better to dig up the rotten flesh and leave him a complete skeleton. After all, in a few years the body will turn into bones. Thinking so, Black Zetsu opened the coffin lid. But in the next moment he was shocked. What? How can it be? Black Zetsu looked at the scene in front of him in surprise, not to mention the body, even the bones were not seen. Did I see it wrong? Black Zetsu hurriedly looked back and confirmed that Rin's name was indeed written on the tombstone, and then groped in the coffin to see if there was a mezzanine or a secret door. After groping for no result, he simply sat down. Why is there no body? Black Zetsu pondered and suddenly remembered Kakashi's fierce reaction when the Sanbai was killed. A flash of lightning crossed his mind, and his body trembled with shock. Is Rin not dead? If it was someone else, as long as they saw the resurrection of the Sanbai, it would be impossible to suspect Rin. Because the Bijou and Jinchuriki live and die together, it is the law of nature and it can't be changed. But Black Zetsu is different. As the descendant of Otsutsuki Kagaya, he knows that there are too many godlike abilities in this world. Rinnegan can even perfectly resurrect the dead. Is it difficult to keep a person alive? He didn't think in this direction before, it was completely misled by preconceived notions. After we left, the first person to arrive was Shimizu Garashi. With his ability, it is not impossible to keep Rin alive. And according to their reaction, Rin is likely to be asleep now, and the key to waking her up is on the Sanbai. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu was scared. Fortunately, Bordered Soil was decisive enough at the time. If the Sanbai was taken away by them, Rin may wake up. At this moment, there was a suppressed anger behind him, as if the whole person was about to explode. You destroyed Rin's body? It's Bordered Soil. Black Setsu's heart trembled because the fact that Rin was not dead was so shocking that he ignored the surrounding attention. Listen to me, it's not me. Black Setsu's voice stagnated. He suddenly thought of a problem. If he told the truth, wouldn't it expose the fact that Rin was not dead? Although Bordered Soil's IQ is likely to not think of this, he can't gamble. Damn it, I have to take the blame. Thinking of this, Black Setsu's eyes were filled with tears and he said sadly, yes, I did it. Chapter 410. In the quiet night of Woodleaf, a mournful howl vaguely sounded. In Danzo's house. Ryoma, who was secretly reporting to Danzo, suddenly became serious. Naruto-sama, did you hear someone screaming? Danzo looked gloomy and waved his hand. Maybe it's a wild dog in heat. Ryoma didn't dare to say more. Since Danzo was released, his face has been black, so he didn't want to make him unhappy. After a moment of silence, Danzo asked, you mean if the Akatsuki didn't release me, they would have already chosen a new Naruto? Ryoma said in a low voice, well, they also said that for the sake of Woodleaf, a little sacrifice is worth it. Danzo's eyes were cold. A little sacrifice? A group of idiots. Only this old man can lead Woodleaf to the peak. If this old man dies, Woodleaf won't be able to bear the weight. Ryoma didn't know how to answer. Although he was willing to die for Danzo, deep in his heart, he felt that Danzo didn't seem to be that important. Therefore he tactfully changed the topic. Naruto-sama, what are we going to do next? Those bastards don't even bother to hide. They all stand on Shimizu Garashi's side. Danzo pondered. Now is not the time to fight with Shimizu Garashi. Wait until the ninja world is completely chaotic, then it will be the time for us to settle the score. I hope we won't be the ones to be settled. Ryoma's heart was melancholy, but he suddenly heard Danzo say, find a way to talk to the leader of the Akatsuki. Ryoma was stunned. Huh? What? Danzo coldly snorted. Before the ninja world becomes chaotic, I have to make some preparations, and the Akatsuki is a force that can be used. If it was before, he might have some scruples. He wanted to win the hearts of the people and fight steadily. But now, he has become the laughingstock of the ninja world, and it's impossible for the villagers to recognize him. Since this is the case, he might as well be unscrupulous. More importantly, the Five Shadow Conference had revealed a piece of information, which was that Shimizu Garashi was not invincible. There were still people in this world who could go against him. Although there was still a big gap between the masked man and Shimizu Garashi, they were indeed on the same level. It was precisely because he knew this that his ambition, which had settled down, began to grow wildly again. Ryoma asked in disbelief, "Are you planning to cooperate with Akatsuki? To resist foreign aggression, we must first pacify our internal affairs." Danzo coldly said. "Only by integrating with Leaf's forces can we deal with the current situation in the best possible state." "But, no buts." Danzo's voice had a trace of madness. "Let's let the Akatsuki and Shimizu Garashi fight. It's best if they die together, then I'll save the world." Ryoma swallowed his saliva with difficulty as a terrifying thought appeared in his mind. Danzo-sama, is he crazy? At this moment, on the outskirts of Woodleaf, Black Zetsu, who had a pig head and was covered in blood, shouted as he fled. "Anger won't solve the problem. Lin's body is gone. If you still want to see Lin, you'll have to continue the Eye of the Moon project with me." Although he took the initiative to take the blame, he actually had his own thoughts. Since Rin's body was destroyed by him, it means that the path of Edo Tensei is blocked. So, the only way out for Bordered Soil is to go all the way on the Eye of the Moon plan. Although Bordered Soil will hate him because of this, he doesn't care. Bordered Soil is just a tool who cares about the thoughts of a tool. Besides, with Bordered Soil's IQ, he can slowly fool him later. But who knows, Bordered Soil didn't even wait for him to explain, and even hit him in Woodleaf. Because of fear of attracting Shimizu Garashi, he didn't dare to resist. After dealing with the tomb as fast as possible, he fled outside the enchantment. It wasn't until he escaped that he had time to explain. However, as soon as he mentioned Lin, Obito's anger flared up. "When I kill you, I will carry out the Eye of the Moon plan alone." Black Zetsu shouted, "Do you think the Eye of the Moon plan is so easy to carry out? If you kill me, it means breaking with Madara." Bordered Soil said coldly, "A dead person I will break with you. When I collect the tailed beasts, I will make myself the Jubi's Jinchuriki." Black Zetsu explained while vomiting blood, "Idiot, do you think the will of the Jubi is so easy to tame? It's difficult for you to suppress the Kyubi, let alone the Jubi. Only the real master of the Rinnegan can tame the Jubi and become its Jinchuriki." "I don't believe it, you must be lying to me again." Having said that, Bordered Soil's offensive weakened a little. Noticing the change in Bordered Soil, Black Zetsu was happy and struck the iron while it was hot. "I really didn't lie to you this time. You should remember the legend of the Jubi that Madara said, right? The Sage of the Six Paths was praised as a god because he suppressed the Jubi who intended to destroy the world. The Jubi is going to destroy the world. Can you imagine how crazy its will is? Besides, if you kill me, how can you explain it to Yahiko? They know my ability to escape. There is almost no one in the world who can kill me. If I die suddenly, it will arouse their suspicion. If you lose the power of the Akatsuki, don't talk about taming the Jubi, you may not even be able to collect the tailed beasts." Having said that, Bordered Soil stopped attacking and just looked at Black Zetsu with angry eyes. Black Zetsu didn't care about the blood on his face. "Don't look at me like that, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have destroyed Rin's body." Bordered Soil laughed angrily, "Is this still my fault?" "Of course it's your fault." Black Zetsu reprimanded, "We saved you from the battlefield and gave you powerful strength because we have the same goal. But what about you? You think about how to resurrect Rin all day long? Have you ever thought about the feelings of our partners? It's clear that I will create a world with Rin for you, and a world full of peace and friendship for Madara-sama. If you resurrect Rin, you can leave, but what about Madara-sama? What will he do?" After being turned around, Bordered Soil's tone was weak. "Who said I would leave? Resurrecting Rin and realizing Madara's dream are not in conflict. Do you believe that?" Black Zetsu sneered, "When Rin is resurrected, Madara-sama will be long forgotten by you." Bordered Soil was speechless for a while and asked himself he might really do that. If Rin is resurrected, how can he care about playing games with this old man? Seeing Obito fall into silence, Black Zetsu didn't dare to push him too hard. "We're both at fault here. I destroyed Rin's body and you chased me for so long. Let's just pretend nothing happened today." Chapter 411. Black Zetsu's words made Bordered Soil finally calm down. "That bastard Black Zetsu isn't wrong. The Eye of the Moon project is the only path I can take. Even if it's for Rin, I have to be patient." Thinking of this, Bordered Soil went with the flow. "Well, I won't argue with you this time. But if you dare to lie to me in the future, I will kill you." "How can that be?" Black Zetsu said, "As long as you stick to the plan of Eye of the Moon, I will be your most loyal subordinate. I hope so. Bordered Soil groaned. Seeing that Obito was about to turn around and leave, Black Zoo quickly said, Obito, wait a minute, now that we've talked about it, there is something I'd better tell you. Bordered Soil suddenly turned back. You still have something to hide from me. It's just my guess and it's about the face of the main body. Black Zetsu shook his head and continued, what do you think about Shimizu Garashi's power in this 5 Kages tournament? Opinion? Bordered Soil frowned slightly, what else can I think besides strength? Bordered Soil said with some emotion in his heart. Although he used to be at the bottom, after the transformation he has surpassed those so-called geniuses one by one. Only Senpai, he can't even see his back. Compared with his strength, what's more terrible is the speed of his progress. Black Zetsu gnashed his teeth, that bastard seems to have no limit, he's growing all the time. Perhaps as Senpai once said, how big the heart is, how big the world is. Senpai's heart can accommodate the whole world. Bordered Soil secretly sighed, then asked, what do you want to say? Black Zetsu explained, before his death, Madara said that we don't need to rush to catch the tailed beast, we need to wait until Nagato is exhausted, and wait until Rinnegan squeezes the last bit of chakra out of him. Anyway, as long as Madara is resurrected, catching the tailed beast will be easy. But now the situation is different. Nagato has the Grail or provided by Aizen. Who knows when he will be squeezed dry. There's also Shimizu Garashi. If his body can be resurrected perfectly, he may have a 50% chance of winning now, but after 10 or 20 years, even a 5% chance of winning is not bad. Obito nodded in agreement. He will be killed by then. Black Zetsu carefully said, my idea is to launch the plan as soon as possible, we will launch the 4th Shinobi World War. Bordered Soil was shocked, he was shocked. The 4th Shinobi World War. Seeing that Bordered Soil's attention wasn't on the resurrection of the Sanbai, Black Zetsu was a little relieved. He wanted to launch the plan as soon as possible. The pressure from Shimizu Garashi is one reason, but another reason is Bordered Soil's time bomb. The next time the Sanbai is resurrected, it's likely that this time bomb will detonate. The best way to avoid the detonation of the bomb is to launch the plan in advance. But the problem is that without the Sanbai, the plan can't be completed. Therefore he can only wait for the Sanbai to be resurrected. But after the resurrection of the Sanbai, there are too many variables, he can't guarantee that the Sanbai will fall into their hands, and even if it falls into their hands he can't guarantee that Wood Leaf won't go crazy after missing the Sanbai twice in a row. After all, they don't have Kirin's talisman now. Even if the Sanbai is put into the body of a Jinchuriki, Shimizu Garashi won't care about the effect of extracting the bijou. Therefore they could not delay for too long before the three-tailed beast's resurrection. The best time was to start a war as soon as they knew that the three-tailed beast had resurrected. Use the 4th Shinobi World War to attract the attention of the 5 major shinobi villages, delay Shimizu Garashi's footsteps, and complete the collection of the 9 bijou as soon as possible. It's really difficult. After deducing in his heart, Black Zetsu sighed secretly. No matter in the previous era, the combat power of the Rinnegan is enough to complete the bijou capture plan. Therefore he had never worried about this. He was only focused on scheming against Azura Indra's reincarnator. But who knows, he finally got the Rinnegan, but in this era he met a monster beyond his knowledge. It's really difficult for him. Bordered Soil didn't object to Black Zetsu's proposal. He was happy to create a world with Rin as soon as possible. But how are you going to convince Yahiko to go to Nagato? They won't believe your reason easily. They don't need to believe. Black Zetsu recovered from his depression and smiled reluctantly. We can force them to roast on the fire. Well, what are you going to do? In the period before the Sanbai is resurrected, speed up the production of White Zetsu and try to produce an army enough to make the entire shinobi world fall into fear. After the Sanbai is resurrected, let the White Zetsu directly launch a riot and attack the major shinobi villages. Bordered Soil's eyes lit up and quickly asked, what if Yahiko asks? Black Zetsu said, just say that the demons are rioting and are out of control. Only by collecting the 9 bijou's chakra as soon as possible and putting them into the Geto Mazo, and using the strengthened bijou cage, to control those demons we can calm the war. Bordered Soil hesitated. Will Yahiko believe this? He has to believe it. Black Zetsu said confidently, although Yahiko is not as naive as when he first established the Akatsuki, he is still doing it for peace. This kind of chaos and disorder is definitely not what he wants to see. Moreover, a good man like him will definitely count the impact caused by the White Zetsu on himself. After trying various methods to no avail, he will definitely try our method. On the other hand, the Akatsuki's reputation in the shinobi world is not very good, and the white Zetsu came from the Akatsuki. The 5 major shinobi villages will never believe the explanation of the Akatsuki. Even if the Akatsuki is not willing to go to war, the war will inevitably start. As for Yahiko's perception of us, is it important? Bordered Soil suddenly realized and immediately said excitedly, in this way even if they don't want to fight they have to fight. Black Zetsu nodded, moreover if we want to resurrect Madara-sama, Nagato is also a hurdle that can't be crossed. It's best to let him frequently use the 6 paths of pain in the war, and when his body becomes weak, we will attack him and take back the Rinnegan. Bordered Soil took a deep breath. I understand. I will try to keep the secret of the hollow as much as possible, and not use the ability in front of them so that when the time comes they will be caught off guard. Seeing that Bordered Soil was fooled again, Black Zetsu breathed a sigh of relief and secretly sighed. Fortunately in this era, in addition to the monster Shimizu Garashi, there is a stupid, excellent collaborator like Bordered Soil. Chapter 412. Star Ninja Village, outside the ancestral hall where the meteorite was enshrined. Star Kage-sama, I don't understand, didn't you promise me to stop my practice? Why do you want to restart it now? Xia Rixing asked excitedly. Alas, the situation now is different from 2 years ago. Sandame sighed. The organization called Akatsuki has brought disaster and chaos. Even the 5 great ninja villages can't ignore their existence. The situation in the ninja world is turbulent, and war has become inevitable. Our Star Ninja Village must have the power to protect ourselves in this troubled world. Xia Rixing argued, but my practice will only bring disaster to the village. In order to protect the village, it's unreasonable to let everyone be plagued by disease. It's still not certain that it's me who brought disaster to the village. Sandame shook his head slightly. Without a definite conclusion, the village can't give up the meteorite as a treasure. Unless you can find Sir Garashi who treated you that year, and let him say the answer himself, with his prestige in the ninja world, no one will doubt it. I'll try my best. Xia Rixing smiled bitterly. If she could find Garashi, she would have gone to find him long ago. But the fact is that Garashi's whereabouts have been uncertain since he left Woodleaf. Even Woodleaf's people don't know where Garashi is. How can she find Garashi? At this time a star ninja ran excitedly. Star Kage-sama, the light of Woodleaf, the god of ninja Shimizu Garashi-sama has come to visit our Star Ninja Village. Hearing this long list of names, Xia Rixing had a feeling of being separated from the world. Although she could have guessed that Garashi would definitely become a big figure in the ninja world in the future. But in just 8 years, from a new Chunin to the god of ninja, this difference still made her feel emotional. Sandame said happily, invite Sir Garashi to the council hall, I'll go there right away. Yes. After he left, the 3rd star shadow paced back and forth excitedly. If we can get Sir Garashi to leave the Flying Thunder God technique in our hidden stars, even if war comes, we can use this technique to survive the disaster. Hearing Star Shadow's words, Summer Star hesitated. Even if Lord Garashi is willing to leave behind the Flying Thunder God technique, if war really comes, he won't be able to spare much energy to take care of Hidden Star, will he? Haha, of course I know that. The 3rd star shadow stroked his beard and said with a smile, however, as long as there is the possibility of Mr. Garashi's arrival, it will be enough to deter most of the villains who have evil intentions. Just his name alone is worth 1,000 jonins. Just a name can protect the ninja village. Summer Star's heart trembled as his gaze drifted into the distance. I can't even see your back anymore. In the meeting hall, all the elders and jonins of Hokage were present. Lord Garashi is younger than I thought. To have such achievements at such a young age, it really makes us old fellows envious. I heard that Lord Garashi also stopped the Akatsuki's conspiracy at the 5 Kage tournament. If our Hokage can have even 1% of Garashi-sama, I will be satisfied. Everyone was enthusiastically complimenting and flattering, not only because of Garashi's strength and status, but also because of his medical ninjutsu. Nearly 1/3 of the ninjas in Hokage Ninja Village are suffering from illness, and Garashi is the #1 medical ninja in the shinobi world, so of course, they would be excited about his arrival. Garashi responded in a friendly manner, and didn't look down on them because of their weak strength. At this time a cry of surprise sounded. Lord Hokage is here. The crowd quickly made a path, and the 3rd Hokage, who looked hale and hearty and didn't look old at all, walked towards Garashi. Lord Garashi, I am Hokage-san. After all, Hokage's name is the name of the leader of Hokage, and it's not recognized by the shinobi world. In order to avoid leaving a bad impression, the third Hokage quickly changed his name. Hokage's leader, Hokage 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 Hokage. Garashi returned the greeting. Hokage Hokage Hokage, sorry to disturb you. What's the matter? We are very happy that Lord Garashi came to visit us. Hokage Hokage smiled heartily, then looked around. What are you still doing here? Go and prepare the banquet. Yes. Everyone answered in unison. Please wait a moment. Garashi stopped the crowd, then looked at Hokage and said, there is no need to bother with the banquet. I came here today mainly to fulfill a promise. Summer Star, who was standing behind Hokage, asked excitedly, Garashi-sama, is it the thing I asked you to do 8 years ago? She didn't dare to ask directly about the cure. She was worried that everyone would be disappointed, and she was also worried that Garashi would be embarrassed. Garashi smiled and nodded. I also received a batch of grayer ores from the Akatsuki some time ago, and I felt that the life energy of the ores could make up for the deficiency of your vitality, so I rushed here to fulfill my promise to cure everyone. Hearing that Garashi came to cure them, everyone couldn't help but cheer. Great. Long live Garashi-sama. I will always like Garashi-sama. However, in these excited and happy voices, there was also some worry. I heard that grayer ores are very expensive. Can the village afford it? Hearing their concerns, Shushi smiled and said, these ores are ill-gotten wealth that I extorted from the Akatsuki. How can I accept your money? Just consider it as compensation for my late arrival. Summer Star naturally couldn't tolerate Garashi slandering her, so she hurriedly defended him. I should have given the Yuan Meteor Stone to Garashi according to our agreement, but I didn't get the Meteor Stone, so you came late. Everyone was very grateful to Garashi for giving them free medical treatment, and now hearing Summer Star say that Garashi didn't want to burden them, they were moved to tears. So there really is such a perfect person like Garashi-sama in this world. So, Garashi-sama let the Akatsuki's people go, was it for us? Damn it, there are actually villains slandering Garashi-sama for letting the enemy go because of greed. We have to make our voices heard, even if Garashi-sama doesn't care. We absolutely can't tolerate our benefactor being slandered. Regarding the gratitude of everyone, Garashi accepted it with a clear conscience. After all, he took the grayer ores from his left hand to his right hand. Wasn't it just to gain their gratitude? In his vision, the establishment of the Shinobi World Alliance can't be done by him alone. There must be someone who responds to the call. Among the 5 great shinobi villages, Kuroto chose Sand Village and Mist Village to answer the call. As for the rest of the small ninja villages, his targets are Kusanagi, Takajin, and Hokage. The foundation of the first 2 has already been completed. Now only Hokage is left. Chapter 413. Shingin Hospital. Looking around, Garashi was a little surprised. Shingin's other facilities were much worse than Woodleaf's, but the hospital was relatively close. As if seeing Garashi's surprise, Xia Rixing took the initiative to explain, because there are too many people in the village suffering from diseases, the village invested the most in the hospital. Don't worry, I'll definitely cure you. Shushi sighed and said encouragingly. Xia Rixing's eyes lit up and said gratefully, thank you. Entering the ward specially arranged for him by Shingin, Garashi sat down and said, let's start now. Xia Rixing sat opposite Garashi and asked nervously, what do I have to do now? Garashi said, you don't have to do anything, just empty your mind. With his soul ability, even the most sophisticated instrument can't compare to his perception. In his eyes, no disease can hide. Xia Rixing closed her eyes obediently, her eyelashes trembled slightly, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, like a small flower that was ready to be picked. However, Garashi's attention was completely not on the beautiful scenery in front of him, but his brows were wrinkled. What is this power hidden in the depths of her body? Even I faintly feel a trace of fear. Compared to 8 years ago, his strength had become much stronger. The root of the problem that couldn't be found in the past is now found with just a sweep of his soul. But the problem is that the root of the problem is that even he feels tricky now. I thought that the illness of Shingin was caused by the radiation caused by the radioactive meteorite, or the infection caused by the fragments of the Jubi, but now it seems that it's not so simple. With my current strength, even the Jubi is difficult to make me afraid, let alone a fragment. After a moment of contemplation, Garashi shouted outside the door, 2 more people come in. Soon 2 Shingin ninjas came in. Although Xia Rixing on the side was a little confused, Garashi didn't call her, so she didn't ask much. Garashi-sama, just sit down and empty your mind. Just like before, Garashi scanned their bodies with his soul power. Just like Summer Star, they also have this power in their bodies. As expected, this situation is not an exception. Garashi rubbed his chin and thought to himself, actually if I think about it, it makes sense. If it was radiation, the surrounding ordinary villagers would also be affected. It wouldn't be like now, where only those who had practiced star chakra would be afflicted with the disease. As for the fragments of the 10-tailed beast, even the chakra of an ordinary tailed beast is so violent. Needless to say, the will contained in the 10-tailed chakra is unimaginably violent. But in reality, the star chakra is extremely docile in their hands. It can even transform into various forms. Right, there's also the activation of the star chakra. That hidden power was constantly activating their bodies, trying to transform their bodies to a certain level. A body with weak adaptability would collapse at the beginning of the transformation. Even someone like Summer Star who has practiced the peacock secret arts to an extremely high level could only adapt to a small part of it. At most, they could last a dozen years longer than ordinary ninjas. This kind of subtle method of changing the body sounds a bit like genetic infection, but this gene is a little too overbearing. The room was eerily quiet and no one dared to disturb his thoughts. After a moment of silence, Garashi stood up. Please take me to see the meteorite, I seem to have underestimated its influence. Hearing Garashi's words, many people felt a chill in their hearts. Even Garashi-sama said so. Were they incurable? Summer Star was also a little frightened, but she still tried to calm her fear. She stood up and said, please follow me. Along the way, Summer Star was worried. There were a few times when she wanted to say something but she hesitated. It wasn't until they were about to reach the ancestral hall that she couldn't help but ask, Garashi, can our illness be cured? Garashi shook his head slightly. I can only remove the root cause of your illness and prevent it from worsening. But there's no way to make up for the damage that has already been done. I can only use the grayer or to make up for the loss of vitality. Phew, that's already very good. After hearing Garashi's explanation, Summer Star heaved a sigh of relief. She then asked, is it really caused by the meteorite? I'm not sure yet, but it's very likely. As they spoke, the two entered the ancestral hall. In the middle of the ancestral hall, a meteorite covered in holes and surrounded by purple chakra was placed on the stage. This is the star? Garashi muttered to himself for a moment and sent a wood clone to approach the meteorite. Seeing Garashi so serious, Summer Star once again raised her vigilance. Garashi's wood clone placed his right hand on the surface of the star and felt the power of the star. The chakra that lingered around the star was very calm, and there was no change because of Garashi's arrival. As long as I don't actively absorb the chakra of the star into my body, there won't be a problem? It seems that I'm worried too much. Thinking like this, Garashi stepped forward and personally experienced the chakra of the star. Compared with the power in Summer Star's body, the power in the meteorite is exactly the same in nature but more complete. This feeling is like copying a group of data, but because the memory is not enough, only a part of it is copied and it collapses. No wonder the ninjas of the Star Village can hardly practice any ninjutsu except for the miraculous peacock technique. It turns out that their memory has been used up. Almost at the moment when Garashi stepped into the ancestral hall, in a different space. A monk with a white haori and a diamond-shaped mark on his chin opened his eyes. The tip of his index finger tapped lightly in the void, and the next moment, the scene of Garashi and Summer Star standing in the ancestral hall was projected in front of his eyes. Looking at the diamond-shaped mark on Garashi's forehead, the monk subconsciously touched his chin, and the diamond-shaped mark was almost exactly the same as the other parties, and he chuckled softly. I didn't expect that there would be people who cultivate the slave seal in this era. It should be passed down by that woman Kagaya when she was choosing a spare weapon for herself. Ordinary human beings can't adapt to our great power at all, but people who cultivate the slave seal will accumulate the chakra that they don't usually use in their body, widen the meridians little by little, and finally create a weapon that can barely carry our power. With that, the monk shook his head again. Unfortunately, this method is too difficult to work. If you want to widen a stream into a sea, the body of a low-level creature like human beings can't bear it at all. Continue to choose. What? How is it possible? In his surprised eyes, Garashi placed his right hand on the surface of the meteorite. Through the perception transmitted by the meteorite, he felt an incomparably exuberant aura of life. A human being can have such a strong physique, and he also cultivated the slave seal which can adapt to my chakra. If it's him, maybe he can really become a weapon that can perfectly carry my power. Chapter 4:14. In another dimension, the leader's voice suddenly sounded in the minds of the members of the shell. Come to my side. Everyone in the space raised their heads at the same time. What's going on? Why did the leader take the initiative to summon us? Are we going to officially appear in the ninja world? I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Don't talk nonsense, don't let the leader wait for too long. While talking, several streamers rose from the space and flew toward the central area. Soon, several people stopped in front of a throne and greeted respectfully. Lord Cixien. Cixien tapped his finger and a picture was projected in the air. It was the scene of Garashi putting his right hand on the meteorite. In 5 minutes, I want to know all the information about this man. Looking at the projection of Garashi's appearance, several people looked at each other and seemed a little surprised. Seeing this, Cixien frowned slightly. Is there a problem? One of them hesitated and said, if it's him, I can tell you now. Cixien raised his eyebrows slightly. Is he famous? The man nodded vigorously. Although we rarely set foot in the ninja world, as long as it's still active in the ninja world, it's impossible not to know this man. Tell me about it. This man is called Shimizu Garashi. He knows almost all the ninjutsu in the ninja world. He is the strongest existence in the ninja world today. He once calmed the war with his own strength. He is known as the god of ninja. Hearing his description, Cixien just nodded calmly. The most powerful ant in the ant nest is still an ant. There's nothing to worry about. The only thing he cares about is whether the other party has anything to do with the other Otsutsuki. After a moment of silence, Cixien asked, in this era, is there any old enemy who grew up with him and fought with him? No. Then it has nothing to do with the two sons of the six paths. Cixien nodded and asked again, is he a Jinchuriki? Is there any Kekkei Genkai? All the subordinates shook their heads. No. If there's none, even if he wants to carry the power of the Otsutsuki, he can't do it. Cixien finally felt relieved. The only thing he was worried about was that the other party had been given power by the six paths or other Otsutsuki, and when he caught them, they would suddenly burst out with strength far beyond their own. But power needs a carrier. If there is no tailed beast or Otsutsuki's dojutsu as a carrier, then the other party can only use his own body as a tool. And he just observed through the meteorite that the human named Shimizu Garashi did not have a wedge left by Otsutsuki. Since that's the case, I'll accept this body. Cixien stood up from the throne and stretched out his right hand. In the next moment, a dark green mark spread from his palm to his entire body, and a horn even grew out of his head. Seeing this, everyone asked worriedly, Lord Cixien, can your body withstand so many wedges? Why don't we go and catch some prey for you? Although we are not his opponents alone, together with the power of scientific ninja tools, we can definitely defeat him. Cixien's eyes were calm. When a lion fights a rabbit, it uses its full strength. Moreover, as long as we can seize his body, it doesn't matter what happens to this body. Seeing Cixien's insistence, they didn't continue to persuade him, but reminded him, Lord Cixien, Shimizu Garashi can use a space-time ninjutsu called Flying Thunder God. If you want to catch him, you need to be prepared in advance. A human being can use the power of time and space. The person who developed this ninjutsu is a genius. Cixien nodded approvingly and then muttered, sealing time and space is a bit troublesome for me now, but since I have to block the perception of the six paths, I'll use some of my power to create a 3-second space-time sealing barrier. Hashigakure Ancestral Hall. Is it my illusion? I feel like I'm being spied on. Garashi frowned slightly and held the meteorite in his hand. Is it because of the meteorite? His soul is so powerful that his sixth sense is not illusory. What he can feel is most likely the truth. Noticing Garashi's abnormality, Summerstar asked nervously, is there a problem? Nothing. I just feel that the power contained in this meteorite is a bit strange and I want to observe it carefully. Although it's just a suspicion, Garashi doesn't want to let the person who might be watching him know that he's vigilant. Summerstar didn't doubt him but reminded him, you must be careful, don't be contaminated by it like us. I know. Shushi observed seriously, but in his heart he secretly speculated, is that suspicious attention just now Otsutsuki's line of sight? They're the only ones who can make me feel fear. But the question is, how did he notice me? If it's because of the meteorite, does he observe every Hashigakure ninja who comes in? With Otsutsuki's pride, this kind of thing is unlikely to happen. Then, is there something on me that aroused his curiosity? Even Garashi can't suddenly associate it with Baihao Jutsu in a completely unknown situation. After thinking for a while, he made a decision. Regardless of whether there is danger or not, to be cautious, let Aizen hide nearby first. His strength alone can only be regarded as the peak of human strength, and he can't reach Otsutsuki's limit, but after fusing with his clone, he's definitely standing in the realm of the six paths. With this kind of strength, as long as it's not Kagaya or several Otsutsuki, it's almost impossible for anyone to pose a threat to him. Thinking of this, the haze in Shushi's heart that had been caused by spying was swept away. Sure enough, only strength is my greatest confidence. Garashi put down the meteorite and walked out without looking back. Let's go, I already know how to treat him. Great. Summer Star cheered and hurried to catch up. Wait for me. At this moment in the Hashigakure hospital, everyone stood helplessly where they were. Shushi had just begun his diagnosis, but he had left them behind and ran to the ancestral hall. They were so scared that their hearts turned cold. They have all heard of the power of Garashi's medical ninjutsu. During the Third Shinobi World War, Shushi healed thousands of wounded people, and even many people who were seriously injured and determined to be beyond saving were easily saved by him. But now Garashi just started his diagnosis and left. Doesn't that mean that their illness is almost equivalent to a terminal disease? At the thought of this, they couldn't help but hold their chest. I'm going to die. I don't think I can feel my heartbeat anymore. Am I dead? Idiot, what are you touching? At this time, a cheer made everyone come back to life. Garashi-sama is back. Everyone hurry up and line up. Chapter 4:15. Seeing that Garashi had returned, the third-generation Star Shadow nervously stepped forward and asked, Sir Garashi, is our illness really related to Star? Garashi nodded with a solemn expression. Star is the source of everything. Hearing that this conjecture was confirmed, the crowd wailed. Why is this happening? Star, which we regard as a treasure, is the source of all disasters? This is not a gift from God, but the temptation of the devil. It was not that none of them could think of this, but they did not want to think about it. On the one hand, Star Chakra was the power that Star Hermit relied on to survive. On the other hand, the activated body when practicing Star Chakra was a positive feedback in most cases, which made them feel lucky in their hearts. Now that Garashi had exposed it, they could no longer deceive themselves. The moment he heard this answer, the third-generation Star Shadow seemed to have aged by more than 10 years in an instant. He blamed himself. If I could stop practicing Star earlier, everyone would not have to suffer this kind of torture. However, Garashi shook his head slightly. Stopping practice can only prevent the subsequent tragedies from happening, but the existing illness will not disappear. The illness will not disappear because of stopping practice? No wonder. The third-generation Star Shadow smiled bitterly. I thought that the 2 years of suspension of practice was not long enough. After that he asked again, Sir Garashi, can our illness be cured? Under the nervous and expectant eyes of the crowd, Garashi nodded. Yes, but the price is that you can no longer use Star Chakra. Hearing this, the smile that had just appeared on the third-generation Star Shadow's face stiffened, but soon he sighed. I was too greedy. I am very lucky to be able to avoid the torture of illness. However, this old man has lived for so long, and I am already used to the pain of illness. I don't want to trouble Sir Garashi to treat me. Hearing his request, everyone was shocked. Sir Star Shadow, you... They soon understood that Sir Star Shadow said this in order to preserve the strength to protect the village. Thinking of this, a few more determined voices came from the crowd. I don't need it either. After being tortured by the illness for so long, I'm still not used to it. While this village suffered, it also gained something precious. Garashi secretly sighed in his heart, looked at the third Hoshikage and said, If you are worried that you will lose your power if you lose your star, you don't have to. We, Woodleaf, have opened all the low-level ninjutsu resources. You can use these ninjutsu to replace the Peacock secret art. Intermediate and low-level ninjutsu aren't precious, but that's relative to the 5 great ninja villages. For these small ninja villages, even a C-class ninjutsu is a precious treasure. However, Sandame smiled bitterly, if we can, we also want to try to make changes, but Hagakure is a place that is favored by the stars. We don't have the qualifications to practice other ninjutsu except for chakra. I know. Garashi said calmly, You can't practice other ninjutsu because of Hoshi. What? Sandaime was surprised. It's not because we don't have enough qualifications. Garashi said, when I went to the ancestral hall, I found that the power of Hoshi is very overbearing, and it doesn't allow you to have extra energy to practice other ninjutsu. That's why your practice of other ninjutsu is bound to fail. Even with Sandaime's good attitude, he couldn't help but curse at this moment. This Yuan meteor stone is too much of a scam. Is it a treasure or something? At this time, Garashi said, in fact, your worries are reasonable. It takes time to change to other ninjutsu, and during this time, there is a possibility for others to take advantage of. Well, I will leave you the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. If you encounter any danger, I will come in time. He didn't have the cheek to ask for it, but Garashi took the initiative to ask for it. Sandaime was moved. Garashi-sama, I really don't know how to thank you. Everyone around was also grateful. Oh, if only Garashi-sama was a member of Hoshi. This kind of thing is impossible. It's better to say that Hoshi was merged into wood leaf. Sandaime coughed a few times and pretended that he didn't hear these words. Garashi-sama, we don't have any valuable gifts. The only thing we can take out is Hoshi. After that, he hurriedly added, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. I just think that Hoshi is really rare, and it's a pity to throw it away like this. If it's you, Garashi-sama, maybe you don't have to worry about the contamination of Hoshi, right? Hoshi? Garashi pretended to be surprised and asked, I'm not afraid, but Hoshi is named after Hoshi. Is it really okay to give it to me? Sandaime waved his hand again and again. No matter how precious Hoshi is, I don't dare to leave it in the village. If it can help you, Garashi, that would be great. Everyone around also spoke. Garashi-sama, you don't have to be polite. If worst comes to worst, we will change our name to Qing Ninja Village. Since he had put it this way, Shushi could no longer refuse. Then I'll accept it. Everyone in Hoshi was relieved. Finally, the scourge was sent out. Shushi heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally gotten the Yuan meteor stones. Of course he didn't lie. Hoshi is indeed a scourge for Hoshi, and there is a certain danger around him, but after all, it's an opportunity to study Otsutsuki, so naturally he didn't want to give it up. After the exchange, Garashi directly separated two wood clone jutsu, 3 days. Moon flow medical ninjutsu. At the same time outside Hoshi, Mercy String crossed through space and stood on a big tree. That guy is treating others? He didn't care about Garashi's behavior of clearing data for others. After all, he didn't expect the Hoshi to find a suitable tool for him. He just threw the Hoshi outside with the mentality of playing around and seeing if he can catch a few big fishes. What he cares about is how long the other party will treat them. Do I have to wait outside all the time? Thinking of this, Mercy String had an impulse to rush in directly. But he forced himself to hold back. No, although it's easy to kill them, it's a bit troublesome to make sure that their souls don't escape. As long as a fish escapes the net, Rikudo will be able to trace it to me from the underworld. Forget it, I'll wait for a while more. I even waited for Kagaya's infinite Tsukuyami, I don't care now. Then 3 days passed. Chapter 416. Outside Hoshi village, Sishien's face was a little dark. If he were to do the same thing, an hour would be enough. However, that human brat had spent 3 whole days doing it. I shouldn't have expected anything from these low-level races. Sishin shook his head slightly. Of course, he withdrew from the wedge form as early as the first day. That form consumes a lot of power, and if he keeps it on, he will die before the human brat comes out. Fortunately, that human brat is finally coming out. At the gate of Hoshi village, Garashi took the meteorite carefully handed over by the third Hoshi. Garashi-sama, we are really very grateful. The third Hoshi sincerely thanked him. Behind him, everyone warmly said goodbye. Garashi-sama, thank you. Remember to come and see us in the future. Thank you everyone, I will remember you. Garashi waved and turned away. No one left, they seemed to express their gratitude by looking at him. It wasn't until Soseki's back could no longer be seen that Sandaime Hokage let out a long sigh. Fortunately, we have a powerful and kind-hearted person like Sama Soseki in this era. Otherwise, I don't know what the future of our small shinobi village will be like. Let's go back. Go back and practice hard, don't let down Garashi-sama's kindness. With Garashi's speed, he soon left Hoshi village and entered a peaceful forest. But he still had some doubts in his heart. I deliberately slowed down the healing speed to give Aizen enough time to observe the surroundings, but after 3 days I didn't even notice the slightest difference. Did I guess wrong? Just as he was secretly guessing, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. His powerful sixth sense made him feel as if there was a knife at his back. Someone is attacking from behind. Although he didn't know how the other party did it, Garashi still subconsciously wanted to use the Flying Thunder God jutsu. However, the Flying Thunder God technique, which had always worked, suddenly lost its effectiveness at this moment. He couldn't sense any of the tactics that served as coordinates. What? It turned out to be a space lock. Garashi's face changed slightly, even he didn't expect that the hidden enemy could do this. After perceiving that the Flying Thunder God technique had failed, Shushi quickly covered himself with a layer of ice release, and then activated his blood and chi, covering himself with a layer of armament haki under the ice layer. Behind him, Cixin, who had shrunk himself to the size of a speck of dust, noticed Garashi's actions and was a little surprised. Even the pure-blooded Otsutsuki were rarely able to detect this move of his, but this human actually did it. Unfortunately, it's too late. Cixin changed his body size back to its original size, and the terrifying power accumulated instantly poured into Garashi's body like a flood. With this punch, even the solidified space rippled slightly. The fist landed on Shushi's back, and with a loud bang the ice layer instantly shattered. Shushi's entire body spurted out a bloody mist, and he was blasted into the ground at an extremely fast speed. The thick layers of the earth collapsed and fractured, as if they were about to pierce through the core of the earth. Underground, Garashi was still hitting the ground. Fortunately, only half of the bones in my body are broken and my spine is broken. It's not a big problem. Shushi's face was indifferent as he calculated in his heart. He did not care that he was still falling through the ground in a sorry state. Then he tried to communicate with Aizen. The space coordinates were like a stone sinking into the sea, he couldn't communicate with him at all. Sure enough, the space lock can't be blocked by the ground. Garashi sighed, "These Otsutsuki's methods are really powerful, I was careless." He had asked Aizen to prepare in advance so that he could pass through space at the fastest speed in case of danger. But he didn't expect that the hidden Otsutsuki could do this. Even the surrounding space was blocked. But I'm not without a way. These thoughts flashed through Shushi's mind like lightning, and he made up his mind within a few microseconds of being sent flying. In the distance, Aizen, who was hiding in the dark, suddenly twisted and disappeared from this world. It was as if he had become one with the space around him. The next moment, his body appeared in the dream world. For others, the dream world was a carrier of consciousness, and their bodies couldn't enter. Even the Pure Land, which was the blueprint of the dream world, was a carrier of souls, and its owner, the Six Paths, could only enter as a soul. But Aizen was different. His outer shell was the dragon vein chakra, and it was almost the same as the natural energy that built the dream world. Crossing the net to hit people was like an instinct to him. In the blink of an eye, Aizen had already left the dream world and merged with Garashi. Garashi's eyes were bright, and his injuries were recovering at a rapid speed. He used the demon's method to refine his body, so his body wasn't inferior to Otsutsuki's. Coupled with the Six Paths domain, his injuries were not worth mentioning. But it's still not enough. Even though he had only caught a glimpse of it, he could sense that it was even more powerful than his body integration stage powers. If his fusion 3 years ago was at the bottom of the Six Paths level, now it should be at the middle level, and Aizen's strength was close to the high level. Under normal circumstances, this gap was nothing to be afraid of. Just as he thought before, if he couldn't win, he could escape. But the problem was that Aizen had sealed time. Moreover, he didn't know how long it had been sealed. It was obvious that Aizen came with the intention of killing him. The most important thing was that Aizen's ability to hide his aura was too terrifying, even shrinking himself to a speck of dust. If it wasn't for his sixth sense, he might have been in real danger. Such a terrible enemy. Even if I can't kill him, I have to make him fear me. Garashi's blood was burning madly, and a steady stream of power emerged from every corner of his body. Hashimantanku, open, rest, life, injury, block, view, shock, death, all open. At this moment, on the ground. Only half a second had passed since he launched his attack. Cixin calmly looked at the abyss that had been created by his attack. Hey, it's been too long since I've made a move. I might have accidentally used too much force and killed him. Saying that, he shook his head slightly, but it doesn't matter, I'll just resurrect him. Just as he flew down and was about to fish out Garashi's body, a red light suddenly lit up in the darkness. What is this? Cixin didn't have time to think before his face was distorted by a punch that was far beyond the speed of sound. However, at the moment he was hit, he saw the true face of the red light. It turned out to be boiling blood, a raging flame. Chapter 417. Pain, a pain that went deep into his bones. But Cixin was more at a loss at this moment. He was completely stunned by Garashi's violent beating. An inferior human being was able to survive after being hit by his attack, and even burst out with this level of power. This was illogical. However, Garashi didn't care whether it was illogical or not. This bastard dared to assassinate him and even forced him to take out 2 of his trump cards. This was simply unforgivable. Physique that surpassed the limits of human beings, the support of the pseudo-ten-tailed Jinchuriki, the endless dragon vein chakra, and the extreme state brought about by the Hashiman Tanku array, Garashi's eruption reached an incredible level at this moment. In an instant he threw out 1,000 punches. Cixin's full-strength attack only caused the solidified space to ripple slightly, but Garashi's attack caused the space to shake violently, as if even space couldn't bear his power. Cixin's body was like a delicate porcelain doll, directly shattering. Except for his head that he was desperately protecting, the other parts of his body were almost instantly obliterated, not even the slightest bit of flesh was left. And his head wasn't much better. His facial features were distorted, and the horns on his head were also broken. Damn it, why did it have to be a physical skill? Cixin roared in his heart. This was a situation that he had never imagined before. How could a human who used chakra as his foundation beat him, who used chakra as his food? As for physical skills, how could a human whose body was so weak that it could be killed by iron weapons have any powerful physical skills? But it turned out that he was wrong. This human was simply like an ancient Tyrannosaurus Rex, crazily ravaging his body, and he couldn't use his spatial ability to dodge. The saddest thing was that he himself was the one who put him in this situation. Even he couldn't remove the solidified space, and could only wait for the solidified time to pass. How long has it been? 1 second or 2 seconds? Cixin thought in pain. He had never felt that 3 seconds was so long. If this goes on, I will die. Cixin was frightened, and at the same time he felt that it was absurd. Kagaya's sneak attack didn't kill him, Samsara's little ghost didn't discover him, and he had been here for 1,000 years. In the end, he died in the hands of a human because of a sneak attack. Of course he wouldn't die immediately. He could still reincarnate. If he was forced to reincarnate in this way, he could indeed block the other party's attack. It was even possible for him to suppress the other party. But in that case he would only be left with 2 or 3 days to live after reincarnating with an unsuitable weapon. This amount of time was not enough for him to find a suitable weapon. As for Garashi, there was no saving him. He could tell that the perfect body that he had set his eyes on had been destroyed by the burning of its potential. Even if it was resurrected, it would not be able to be saved. Moreover, even if there was no such thing, it would be very difficult for him to carve a wedge in the other party's body within 2 or 3 days. Damn it! How can I die here? At this moment, the cooldown time of the young master Taguna, that he kept triggering finally passed. The next moment, his head shrank again and floated in the air like a speck of dust. Of course, he knew that it was impossible for him to hide from the other party's perception in this state. However, with such a small body, the amount of force he could withstand was much less than before. This move again. Garashi naturally wouldn't waste time. Although he had a backup plan to deal with the aftereffects of the 8 gates, he wouldn't be able to take it if it dragged on. He would really die. Ninjutsu, chaotic lion's hair technique. The hair on top of Garashi's head fluttered, and the soft hair became like steel needles. No, it was far more terrifying than steel needles. After reducing the contact area, the pressure at the end of the hair became ridiculously strong. Cixin floated quietly in the air and felt that the sharpness was going to pierce him full of holes. Then the stable space broke like a piece of paper. Cixin, who was originally in despair and could only wait for his body to be crushed and then be forced to reincarnate, was stunned when he saw this scene. Then he was overjoyed. Although it was only a small hole, it was enough for him to escape. He didn't want to die together with this madman. The next moment he decisively used his spatial ability to escape. Garashi was also stunned. He didn't expect that he would be so strong after extreme overlay. Although it was a pity to let the other party escape, knowing that he could barely break through space was a comfort. At least, if he encountered such a situation in the future, he wouldn't have no way to escape. After being stunned for a moment, Garashi felt that the spatial seal around him had disappeared. From the time he was attacked until now, it was almost 3 seconds. So this guy is like me, a 3-second man? Although he was cursing in his heart, Garashi didn't underestimate the other party because of this. At their level, 3 seconds is enough to kill the enemy 1,000 times. I can't stay here any longer. Looking at the bottomless abyss under his feet, Garashi shook his head slightly. With such a big movement, I think Rikudo will soon notice it. Thinking of this, Garashi used Flying Thunder God Jutsu to instantly escape the scene of the crime. Sure enough, not long after the space barrier disappeared, a tyrannical soul swept past. The will of Rikudo hovered in the sky. Looking at the abyss below, he couldn't help but hesitate. Such a big movement, I didn't notice it. Is it the main family of Otsutsuki? But according to Mother, the main family is some arrogant people. If they find out the problem of this world, they should directly destroy the world. Also, to be able to cause such a scene in the battle, it means that both sides of the battle are Otsutsuki. Is it internal strife? Sigh, this world is so complicated that even I can't understand it. Thinking of this, he looked into the distance with a heavy gaze. My children, you must grow up as soon as possible. Only you can bear my power and become the new guardian of this world. After using Flying Thunder God Jutsu several times, Garashi finally felt relieved when he returned to Ryumayaku. Only in this place where Ryumayaku's chakra gathered, he wasn't afraid of being secretly observed. At this time he seemed to have reached his limit. His body twisted and Aizen's body separated from his body. However, the two people separated from each other were two extremes. Garashi's face was ruddy, and he was full of energy. It was impossible to tell that he was seriously injured. Aizen's body was full of cracks, and he instantly shattered after being separated. But as a pure energy body he quickly reformed and shattered. This repeated 3 times in a row and Aizen's state barely stabilized. However, he was extremely weak at the moment. His energy reserves were only 70%. In other words, I can only open the 8 gates for 10 seconds at most. Garashi stood aside and rubbed his chin. He was actually very satisfied with this result. After all, if he didn't transfer all the damage to the Jubi, he wouldn't dare to use the Hashiman Tanku. 10 seconds of True Man was already very lucky. Chapter 418. However, the enemy who attacked me today made me a little concerned. He didn't seem to be in his peak state. He wasn't even in the form of Otsutsuki, but more like a human than Otsutsuki. After thinking about the 10 seconds of being a real man, Garashi officially thought about the enemy he encountered today. Although he didn't have much memory of the Otsutsuki trio, he probably knew that they were all aliens with pale skin and long horns on their heads, and there were few black marks on their bodies. And the person who attacked him today, except for the long horns on his head, the rest of his body features were more like a human with a curse mark. Could it be that he is in a half-dead state like Orochimaru in the original track? He needs to live with the help of a human body. If that's the case, is the purpose of his attack today for my body? Thinking of Orochimaru's training of Kimimaro as a vessel in the original work, Garashi's pupils shrank. In that case, the Shell organization secretly collects talented children, maybe to prepare a suitable vessel for him. Although there is no clear evidence pointing to the other party as the leader of the Shell organization, the clues at hand are enough for him to start associating. The Shell organization is supported by a different space and is powerful. It's likely that Otsutsuki is behind it. And with the pride of that group of Otsutsuki, they can hide and develop quietly, indicating that the state of the person behind them shouldn't be good. That's why he met today's enemy. Moreover, the other party's human form can also be related to the purpose of the Shell organization to collect talented children. Thinking of this, Garashi couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Fortunately, the other party came to attack today. Otherwise, if he really sent Kimimaro and Haku into the Shell organization, he might have helped the other party. The plan remains the same, but the preparation work needs to be improved. Garashi thought to himself, leave a backup plan in Kimimaro and Haku's bodies in advance. It's best if they can swallow Otsutsuki like Sasuke in the original work backfiring on Orochimaru. Let them replace Otsutsuki and become my most powerful assistant. Although Sasuke's action of backfiring on Orochimaru wasn't perfect, and even had the intention of Orochimaru, he can also give them a push at a critical moment like Itachi. Compared to the possible benefits of completing the plan, the risk was not even worth mentioning. However, if I want to leave something in Kimimaro and Haku's body, I must first thoroughly study the Yuan Meteor Stone. If I'm not mistaken, his method of possession should be the power left in the bodies of the shinobis of the nebula after they cultivated the planet-form chakra. Just nice, I can use this period of time to study the Yuan Meteor Stones. Garashi shook his head slightly at the thought of going into hibernation. The loss of the Dragon Vein chakra was easy to replenish. He could just charge it at the Dragon Vein. However, the core of the Ten-Tails had to slowly recover. Of course, this was already considered good. If it were any other tailed beast, even if they had the dragon vein chakra as a buffer, such injuries would be enough to cause them to collapse completely. Ordinary tailed beasts would take a few years to be reborn after death, but the core of the ten-tailed beast would only take a few months to recover. In addition, I hope that the aura of the ten-tailed beast that I accidentally leaked at the end will make him think that I'm a spy of the Six Paths. Garashi sighed slightly. He didn't want to do this, but being targeted by such a dangerous enemy was a bit troublesome. This kind of troublesome guy should be left to the Six Paths. In a different dimension, a group of subordinates was waiting for their leader to return. Hey, why hasn't the leader come back yet? It's been 3 days. Could it be that he got lost? Of course, they didn't think that their leader was in danger. With their leader's strength, there may be people in this world who can affect his plan, but there is absolutely no one who can threaten his safety. Just as they were discussing like this, the space door was opened. Leader. Leader. A person greeted with joy, then was frightened by the scene in front of him. A head whose facial features could barely be seen flew out from behind the door. Its face was covered in blood and had swollen to twice its original size. Of course, they were not frightened by such a horrifying scene, but by the deeper meaning behind it. Their leader shouted the slogan, "A lion will use all its strength to catch a rabbit, to ambush a human," but he was beaten until only his head flew back. Was their leader really a god? Was there such a god in the world? For a moment, many blasphemous and disrespectful thoughts appeared in their minds. Cien, who was lucky enough to escape, didn't pay attention to their thoughts. Instead, he calmly pondered and finally came to a conclusion. I've been tricked by the Six Paths. Hearing Cien's words, everyone was a bit surprised. They knew a little about the Six Paths. They looked at each other and asked carefully, "Isn't it a human?" "A human?" Cien sneered. "A guy who can take a full blow from me and use strength that surpasses mine in a short time is a human? When I first escaped, I thought he was the Six Paths' backup plan. But now that I think about it, something doesn't seem right. There is a limit to how much power a human can carry. Also, although the Six Paths brat is in a better state than I am, there is no way he could have given a human to surpass me with just a bit of power. Moreover, I vaguely feel the aura of the Jubi on him. So, the only possibility is that the human named Shimizu Garashi is the reincarnation of the Six Paths." Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder. I was wondering how an ordinary human could have such a high talent. That's right, a person without any noble bloodline can grow faster than anyone. This doesn't make sense. Knowing all ninjutsu, it's very reasonable for the reincarnation of the Six Paths to be proficient in all ninjutsu. Since he's reincarnated, does that mean there's no one guarding the underworld? Can we? Cien frowned. It's impossible for the Six Paths to leave such a big flaw. Moreover, I can vaguely feel the existence of his will. So, I suspect that he separated his power and soul. Reincarnation of the soul, and his power as a puppet to monitor the world. Thinking of this, Cien sighed. It's a pity. If I could have noticed this earlier, I would have killed him in advance. Now he has become so powerful that he even dares to use himself as bait to lure me out. Cien-sama, what should we do next? Cien's eyes were gloomy. My body could have lasted for 30 years, but after being tricked by him, it can only last for 15 years at most, and I have to spend a lot of time repairing my body. Taking a deep breath, Cien continued, "Continue to be dormant, find a suitable container for me, and increase the production of scientific ninja tools, and be prepared to fight with them." Chapter 419. After the 5 Kages convention, the ninja world has been in turmoil. Although the 5 great ninja villages and the Akatsuki organization restrained themselves from starting a war, small-scale conflicts continued one after another, and these conflicts were mainly reflected in the small ninja villages. Everyone understood that the war was bound to break out. It was just a matter of time. In this situation, fighting for as much strength as possible became an inevitable trend. However, when everyone was eager to become a ninja, the fields were abandoned. Although ninjutsu can promote the development of agriculture to some extent, there are only a few people who can calm down and farm after mastering the power, and in the chaotic situation of the ninja world, there is a lack of soil for them to farm peacefully. This led to the scarcity of food, the price of food rose, and various bandits and robbers ran rampant. The situation worsened and food became even more scarce. It was like an endless cycle. Moreover, the scene that Reikage predicted that day also appeared. The unrestrained power was like a dragon that broke free from its cage, killing people became normal, and the occasional battle affected the innocent became a reality. Except for the 5 great ninja villages, the entire ninja world almost fell into a kind of frenzy, as if the world was sick. Under such treacherous circumstances, another 4 years had passed. Woodleaf, Uchiha clan. When I was on a mission a few days ago, I found that more and more refugees from all over the country of fire were coming to Woodleaf. Itachi, dressed as an Umbu ninja, was puzzled. There was no war, why did it become like this? Because the world is sick. Shursui said firmly. Is the world sick? Itachi's face was complicated, as the future patriarch who was thrown to the battlefield by his father at the age of 4, his thoughts were indeed more mature than his peers. If this continues, the peace in Woodleaf won't last long, right? Shursui sighed. As long as Woodleaf still belongs to the ninja world, it is impossible to escape from this whirlpool. Itachi's eyes were confused. Is it really like what the Akatsuki said? Must we use a vigorous revolution to clean up the disease, destroy the existing order, and let the ninja world rise again from the ruins as the solution? I don't know whether Akatsuki is right or not, but I know. Shursui said, in order to end this chaotic situation, someone must stand up and use a strong hand to end the chaos. Itachi had a strange look in his eyes. Where have I heard this before? Is there anything else? The great change in the ninja world is both a challenge and an opportunity. As long as we grasp the opportunity, we can unify the scattered ninja world into a powerful whole. Shursui laughed awkwardly. Itachi, you've also read Shimura's diary? Itachi was speechless. I just didn't expect you to support Lord Naruto. How is this possible? Shursui shrugged. Although it doesn't match Naruto-sama, it's true. It's very appropriate to use it on another senior. Needless to say, Itachi knew who that senior was, so he didn't say much. Instead, he asked with a solemn expression, are you planning to use your ability on Lord Naruto? Shursui gently pressed his eyebrows, and the 3 tomo in his pupils rotated rapidly, turning into a square shuriken shape. That senior told me not to use the ability of my eyes for the time being, and to continue practicing genjutsu. With your genjutsu, you still want to continue practicing. Itachi was shocked at first, but then he calmed down and said, but it's true, even if you open Manjikyu Sharingan without practicing it, it's difficult to help Lord. Don't talk about me, what about you? Shursui laughed. Didn't I tell you how to open your eyes? I can't do it. It's too difficult to experience a lot of negative emotions and even witness the death of a loved one. Itachi sighed and asked, how did you do it? I haven't heard that you have any relatives or friends who died. That senior once told me that love can be divided into big love and small love. It's because I witnessed the world of infinite love become what it is today that I opened Manjikyu Sharingan. Shursui touched his eyes with emotion. I opened this pair of eyes that want to change the status quo. Itachi was quite shocked and muttered to himself. Big love and small love? Shursui nodded again and again. How is it, do you have the feeling of opening your eyes? I don't know. Itachi touched his chest. I also have the love for the world, but it doesn't seem to be enough to open my eyes. Is it because my love for the world is not deep enough? At this time, a cheering voice came from the distance. Oniai-san, I learned the great fireball jutsu. Sasuke excitedly ran to Itachi and said. Looking at the happy Sasuke with a face full of praise me, Itachi and Shursui were full of doubts. Is learning the great fireball jutsu something to show off? They just looked at it a few times before entering the school. Looking at the 7-year-old Sasuke, Itachi's eyes were full of sympathy for the disabled and encouraged him. Sasuke, you are a genius. Hey. Sasuke smiled embarrassedly, then waved his small fist. Oniai-san, I will surpass you. Itachi smiled and touched Sasuke's head. Well, you can do it. Shursui looked at them and wondered, is the key to Itachi's Manjikyu Sharingan? Should I play a little joke with Itachi? Shursui inexplicably designed in his mind the scene of Fugaku clan chief killing Sasuke and claiming that Sasuke was disabled, so it was better to use him to test Itachi's tolerance. Forget it, I feel like Itachi will turn against me. Shursui sighed, then interrupted the conversation between the two and said, I still have a task, so I'll go first. Goodbye, Oniai-san. Worried that Shursui would go back on his words, Sasuke quickly shouted sweetly. Finally, he can drive away the annoying guy who took away his brother. Shursui naturally saw Sasuke's thoughts and couldn't help laughing and jumped away. After Shursui left, Sasuke blinked his eyes and looked forward to it. Oniai-san, teach me other ninjutsu. However, Itachi's mind was full of love, so he didn't have the mood to play with him. He apologetically tapped Sasuke's forehead. Forgive me, Sasuke, I'll teach you next time. Hearing this perfunctory answer, Sasuke's cheeks puffed up like a blowfish. This again? I'm angry, the kind that can't be coaxed. Itachi nodded. Oh, then I won't coax you. After leaving, Shisui avoided the sight of some people in the village and came to a forest. Looking around, Shisui said in a deep voice. I came as promised. A voice came from the shadow behind him. Have you decided? Shisui turned around and looked at the mysterious man wearing a whirlpool mask in front of him. What did you mean by what you said to me the day before yesterday? Bordered Soil said, Uchiha has walked on the cliff and only you can save it. Chapter 420. On the edge of the cliff? Shisui frowned and asked, why didn't I see it? You are in the situation, so of course you don't see it as clearly as I do, Bordered Soil said calmly. The crisis of the Uchiha comes from both the clan and the Woodleaf clan. The clan. Shisui's eyes were dignified. It seems that you know a lot of things. Obito didn't express his opinion and just said with a sigh, oh, the Uchiha clan is a very emotional clan, therefore the probability of the Uchiha clan producing geniuses and fools is always much higher than other clans. This is the source of disaster. For example, 7 years ago during the Kyuubi rebellion, there were Uchiha elders who suggested to your patriarch to control the Kyuubi. They had this stupid idea because they knew that your patriarch Fugaku had awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the strength of the Manjikyu recorded in the clan gave them confidence and confidence. How do you know this? Shisui was shocked. This is top secret information in the clan. Even he revealed his Manjikyu Sharingan in front of the patriarch and was promoted to the top. Bordered Soil didn't answer but continued, now you have also awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the genius Uchiha Itachi seems to be showing signs of awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan. If those idiots who can't see the situation know that the Uchiha have 3 pairs of Manjikyu Sharingan, what do you think they will do? Shisui was silent for a moment and said bitterly, the patriarch will not agree with them doing that. Bordered Soil chuckled softly, public opinion can be manipulated. When most of the Uchiha are dominated by the same voice, what can you do? Use your genjutsu to change their minds? Shisui's eyes suddenly became fierce. I only told Itachi and the other top clans about my ability. How do you know? Who are you? Don't be angry, they will tell me because my name is... Bordered Soil said calmly, Uchiha Madara. Madara? Shisui was shocked and then shook his head. Impossible, Madara was killed by Shodame-sama in the Battle of the Valley of the End. I did die but I came back to life, the Bordered Soil said calmly. You should be able to guess why. Izanagi. It turned out to be Izanagi. Hearing the other party mention the forbidden jutsu of the Uchiha clan, Shisui reluctantly believed it. Let's get back to the topic. Bordered Soil continued. In addition to not being able to see the situation clearly, the Uchiha's current situation is also the main reason why they chose to be radical. With Shimizu Garashi around, Danzo doesn't dare to go too far in some things, but correspondingly Shimizu Garashi can't interfere too much in some small things. Moreover, Naruto's approach has also become much smarter. Now he rarely takes action himself. Instead, he magnifies the conflict between some villagers and the Uchiha clan and labels some ordinary conflicts as the bullying of civilians. And our Uchiha clan has always been arrogant, they don't know how to restrain themselves or explain themselves, and often complicate some simple things. In the past 4 years, the situation of the Uchiha clan should be a lot more difficult, right? Shisui was silent for a moment and couldn't help but complain, is that Naruto-sama sick? Why is he targeting the Uchiha clan? Bordered Soil sneered. He is doing this just to prove that he is the one who inherited the will of Naidame Naruto. Proving his legitimacy will allow him to gain more support. For this reason, he is wantonly suppressing a member of the village. Shisui sighed with emotion. It is really the misfortune of the village to have such a person become Naruto. After sighing with emotion, Shisui asked again, you said that the person who can save the Uchiha clan is me, do you want me to use genjutsu to control him? If it was 4 years ago this might have been effective. Bordered Soil shook his head slightly, but now the future of the Uchiha clan is no longer something that can be decided by one Naruto. Shisui frowned, then what do you mean? Bordered Soil took a deep breath and said word by word, destroy Woodleaf and re-establish the order of the shinobi world. Shisui was taken aback. You are crazy, this kind of thing is impossible. Bordered Soil chuckled. Why is it impossible? Shui shook his head. Let's not talk about how I can destroy Woodleaf by myself. Just the existence of Garashi-sama is doomed to fail. No, you can do it and only you can do it. Bordered Soil said. Of course, the premise is that you can control a person with genjutsu. A person? A person named Aizen. Aizen? Shui looked at him deeply. I heard that he is a member of the Akatsuki just like you, right? It seems that you know a lot of things after entering the eyes of the higher-ups. Bordered Soil smiled indifferently. It's just that you don't know enough about him. He saved the life of the leader of the Akatsuki, and more than half of the members of the Akatsuki have received his kindness. Many of the plans and decisions of the Akatsuki have also come from his mouth. This man who seems low-key and doesn't have much fame in the ninja world is actually the real core of the Akatsuki. What? That man is actually such a powerful person. Shui was incredibly shocked and asked, so many people have received his grace, what about you? Bordered Soil's body stiffened and he changed the topic. That's not important, what's important is, in addition to the Akatsuki, the person who resisted Shimizu Garashi during the 5 Kage tournament 4 years ago is also his friend. In other words, as long as you control Aizen, you control the Akatsuki, and have enough power to resist Shimizu Garashi. In this way you can do anything you want. Seeing Shui was silent, Bordered Soil continued. Think about it, people like Shimizu Garashi were forced to leave Woodleaf, people like you who loved the village were suppressed, and people like Danzo who used the village as a tool stole Naruto's position, and people like Mitokado Hamura and Udatane Koharu stole the top positions. As for the shinobi world, the Raikage used despicable means to plot against the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, but didn't he just let it go after that? The Mizukage carried out a bloody rule in Kirin, and after that he pushed the blame to a person behind the scenes and got away with it. These rulers are the root of the chaos in the shinobi world. Tell me, what's the use of such an unreasonable order? Right now the world is a patient. Only by hardening our hearts and getting rid of all the chronic diseases once and for all can we give it a new life. Although there will be some pain in the short term, in the long term, it is absolutely worth it. So you are not harming the world but saving it. Chapter 421. Uchiha Madara is an Azura who would kill without saying a word. How can he be so good at talking? Do you think I'm a fool? Shui thought to himself, but he still pretended to be interested. But I heard that Aizen's genjutsu is very powerful. Although my Kodo Amatsukami is powerful, it might not be able to control him. If it fails, I will have to wait 10 years before I can use it again. Rest assured I will help you. Seeing Shui finally take the bait, Bordered Soil's mouth rose slightly under his mask. Wait until I beat Aizen half to death, then he won't be able to resist. Shui was still a little hesitant. But his genjutsu is very strong, and you said that he has a high position in the Akatsuki. If I fail, it might cause the war to break out ahead of time. His genjutsu is indeed a little troublesome. Bordered Soil nodded in agreement. Aizen's genjutsu was too terrifying. He couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't fall for it. So, I need another ability of yours. Well, it seems that I have no secrets in front of you. Shui sighed. Only you can use genjutsu in the forbidden field. Bordered Soil clapped his hands. It seems useless, but sometimes it can play an irreplaceable role. Shui nodded slightly. Both of his abilities were powerful, but also had a lot of restrictions. Kodo Amatsukami directly changed the mind, but it could only be used once every 10 years. The Forbidden Field had a rule that it could only be used on genjutsu. Bordered Soil said. Do you have any other questions? One more thing, why do you want to help me? Shui asked suspiciously. I don't remember Uchiha Madara being such a helpful person. Bordered Soil said fiercely. I want to prove that Hashirama is wrong. Choosing Woodleaf between me and Woodleaf is absolutely wrong. Shui's eyes were strange. Why does this Uchiha Madara seem strange? Seeing Shui's eyes, Bordered Soil sneered. Imagine if your good friend Itachi killed you for his younger brother, what kind of feelings would you have for his younger brother? Shui instantly understood. His tone was complex. I think I understand how you feel now. Bordered Soil snorted. That's it. I'll inform you when the time comes. With that, he voided and disappeared from Shui's sight. After the Bordered Soil left, the forest became quiet again. A moment later, a tall figure walked out from the shadows. Sai, it's been hard on you. Shui knelt on one knee and said in a respectful tone, Compared to what Lord Garashi has done for Woodleaf, what I have done is only a trivial part. After being modest, Shursui decisively sold out his ancestor. Lord Garashi, should we chase after them? Garashi smiled and said, don't worry, this is my clone. My main body has already gone over. Well, I hope Lord Ancestor won't be beaten to a pulp. After a moment of silence for his ancestor, Shursui put him to the back of his mind. After all, Garashi-sama allowed him to enter the Akatsuki through this route, so naturally he can't kill the person who claims to be his ancestor. Garashi-sama, should I use my ability on Aizen? Garashi pondered. If he can defeat Aizen, then it's not a loss to use your ability on him, but in my opinion his chances are not high. Shursui was surprised. Even if his genjutsu is sealed, he's still not Aizen's opponent? 4 years ago during the 5-kage tournament, this masked man used would release, coupled with the space ability just now, his strength shouldn't be too weak. Garashi nodded with a dignified expression. Although Aizen isn't famous, he's someone who can make me feel fear. Shursui couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. To be able to make Garashi-sama afraid, it seems that Aizen must be very terrifying. Garashi added, if that person who claims to be Uchiha Madara succeeds, then my worries will be solved. Even if he fails, the Akatsuki will be divided, but for you, it's too dangerous. Well, I will imprint the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on your body, and then give you a note with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. If you encounter any danger, tear the note, and I will immediately use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to rush over. Shursui's heart warmed, but he firmly refused. Know that Aizen is a terrible enemy that even you are afraid of. If I summon you, won't you be in danger? Haha, don't worry. Garashi laughed. Although I'm afraid I should be a little stronger than him. Well, just like the person who stopped me during the 5-kage tournament 4 years ago, I'm also afraid of him. Shursui suddenly understood. So, Garashi-sama's fear is just that he won't be beaten to death? I understand. In short, your safety is the most important thing. Garashi said and directly left using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. After Garashi left, Shursui thought about the ancestor who might be beaten, and his eyes were firm. Don't blame me, ancestor, although what you said is very tempting. I really don't want to believe a person who doesn't even dare to show his face. Moreover, the person who can save the Uchiha is not me but Garashi-sama. After leaving Woodleaf's range, Bordered Soil retreated from the virtual state and thought, don't blame me, Aizen, although I am grateful that you told me about the Edo Tensei, but who told you to block my way? Originally, he and Black Zetsu didn't want to attack Aizen. After all, that man is too mysterious, and there are very few records of him taking action, so attacking him would be a big risk. But after learning about Shursui's ability, they couldn't help but think. Because the benefits of controlling Aizen are too great. Just like what he said, Aizen is the real core of the Akatsuki. If they can control Aizen, they can make the Akatsuki work for them, and return their plan to the original plan of using the identity of Uchiha Madara as the mastermind behind the Akatsuki, instead of using the identity of Hoodlum to act like a fool. Moreover, even if they fail, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they have already planned to drag the Akatsuki into the mud, so it doesn't matter if they fall out sooner or later. Now, it doesn't matter anymore. At this moment, a voice sounded in front of him. Akatsuki? Bordered Soil was scared by this voice, and subconsciously wanted to use the virtual state to escape. Because he recognized the voice of his senpai. Not only because of his senpai's strength, but also the feeling of being caught doing something bad. This is different from the time in the Kirin village when he was talking to his senpai. He didn't feel anything, but now there is only a mask between them. I am Uchiha Madara, I am Uchiha Madara. Bordered Soil forced himself to calm down and asked calmly, so it's the god of shinobi, why do you want to catch me? However, Garashi's words made him lose his composure. Do we know each other? Chapter 422. Bordered Soil felt his scalp go numb. What's going on? Is he going to expose himself? Although he claims to have given up on human emotions, deep in his heart, he still hopes that they can retain a good impression of his identity as Bordered Soil. The ones who do evil are Hoodlum or Uchiha Madara. Bordered Soil is already dead. Just as Zhang Heng's mind was in a mess, he heard Shushi say, just by hearing my voice, the look in your eyes changed many times. That kind of complicated emotion is not something a stranger can express. So it's my eyes. Yes, Senpai is the person who founded the Psychology Society. The changes in my eyes can't be hidden from him. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil forced himself to calm down, and his eyes no longer fluctuated. It's strange that I can remain calm in front of a monster like you, isn't it? However, Shushi let out a long sigh. You're someone I know. You're someone who once joined the Psychology Society, right? Only they know how to hide their eyes in front of me. Bordered Soil felt like he was struck by lightning. It's over, Senpai must have deliberately tested him. Sure enough, compared with a real genius like Senpai, even if he has been behind the scenes for so many years, the difference in mentality and IQ is too big. He is completely at the level of being played by Senpai. Who the hell are you? Hearing Senpai's question, Bordered Soil subconsciously closed his eyes. He was worried that if he opened his eyes again, all the details would be exposed. Fortunately, I switched my Mangekyo back to the ordinary 3-tomo state when I exited the virtual state. Otherwise, if Senpai saw that the Mangekyo pattern in my eyes is the same as that bastard Kakashi's, wouldn't I be exposed? Garashi continued, I know all the people who came out of the ninja school, and I don't think anyone can hide their strength in front of me, so you are most likely someone who died in a mission or war, right? Of course, I am more inclined to think that you are a companion who died in a war because it is difficult to keep a complete body in a war. Missing for more than a certain period of time will be regarded as a death in a war. Although there are many people who are missing, it can always narrow down the scope again. Enough, don't say any more. Bordered Soil roared, I'm Shimura Danzo? No, I have nothing to do with Shimura Danzo. Don't think too much about it. I've never asked anyone to collect the contents of the Psychology Society. With that, he closed his eyes and used void form to escape. Garashi had a strange expression on his face. Even Bordered Soil had mastered the skill of shifting the blame? Abito, who only wanted to escape, kept using void form until he escaped back to the underground base of the country of grass. Only then did he stop. Phew. You're finally back. Wait, senior. Only then did he realize what was going on. Oh no, if senior follows behind us, won't the base be exposed? Bordered Soil looked around and released his perception. After confirming that Garashi had not chased after him, Bordered Soil relaxed, but his mood also worsened. His Kamui was mainly void form and teleportation. Although he could use it to travel, he could only teleport a few kilometers at most. This distance should still be within the range of Senpai's perception. But Senpai did not even chase after him, as if he was deliberately letting him go. Could it be that Senpai has already guessed my identity? Thinking of this, Bordered Soil had an inexplicable fear of social death, and then he shook his head fiercely. So what if he recognizes me? I'm already an emotionless. Bordered Soil. Seeing Bordered Soil scared witless by this voice, Black Zetsu was confused. What's wrong with you? What emotionless? Seeing that it was Black Zetsu, Bordered Soil sighed in relief, and then he explained in frustration. It's over, Senpai seems to have recognized me. What? Black Zetsu was more excited than him. What's going on? How did he recognize you? Bordered Soil's heart was in a mess, and he didn't care about Black Zetsu's strangeness. He just told him everything that happened today. After listening to Bordered Soil's story, Black Zetsu's face was gloomy. Damn it, I just relaxed a little and it became like this. Because of Garashi's phobia, unless he had no other choice, he generally did not enter Woodleaf. Therefore he did not act with Bordered Soil this time. Bordered Soil asked with hope in his eyes, Black Zetsu, do you think that the last words I left behind could make Senpai mistakenly think that I am Danzo? If your dojutsu can pull the opponent's intelligence to the same level as yours, maybe it's possible to succeed. Black Zetsu said in his heart, after all, the opponent is Shimizu Garashi, the possibility is not high. I knew it would be like this. Bordered Soil sighed and said fiercely, isn't it just identity exposure? Why should I be afraid? Wait, don't. Black Zetsu's tone was nervous. If Bordered Soil's identity is exposed, Shimizu Garashi is likely to say that Rin is not dead. Then what awaits him will be Bordered Soil's betrayal on the spot. What's wrong? Bordered Soil wondered. I blocked the way out, isn't it more to your liking? Blocked the way out. Black Zetsu laughed in his heart, if you know that Rin is not dead, you will shamelessly go back even if Woodleaf hates you. Sorting out his thoughts, Black Zetsu explained, before we start the 4th Shinobi World War, your identity should not be exposed. What? First, we plan to let White Zetsu riot in order to shift the responsibility to Akatsuki so that Akatsuki and the 5 great shinobi villages will have to go to war. But if your identity is exposed, others may mistakenly think that you are a spy sent by Woodleaf, and Woodleaf will divert some of the firepower. Second, we also have to propose a solution for Akatsuki. If your identity is exposed, your despicable act of assassinating Sensei and even Shimizu's wife during childbirth will also be exposed. Even the villains of Akatsuki will look down on you, and they won't believe the solution proposed by a scum like you. Bordered Soil's body trembled slightly. Assassinating Namikaze Minato, he could explain it as revenge for Rin, but his sensei was always one step late. But Shina Kushina has nothing to do with this matter, and Shimizu's wife has always cared about them and really treated them as her own children. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil said bitterly. Yes. A scum like me will even look down on a rebellious ninja. Don't talk about rebellious ninja, even I look down on you. Black Zetsu, as the most filial son of the shinobi world, said in his heart. Bordered Soil was silent for a moment. Then what should I do? Even if I don't take the initiative to expose myself, Senpai will find out the truth. Then let him have no time to care about you. Black Zetsu said firmly, directly start the shinobi world war, and when everything is settled, it doesn't matter if your identity is exposed. Chapter 423. Let's start the Shinobi World War. Bordered Soil was also shocked by these words for a moment, then he asked in confusion, but didn't you say last time that you would wait for the Sanbai to resurrect before starting the war? If we start the war now, there's no way to resurrect the Jubi, right? Ah, what a coincidence. Black Zetsu laughed twice. I just found out that the Sanbai was resurrected 2 days ago, and I just finished the capture. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have delayed it. Black Zetsu sighed secretly. Because he was worried that the resurrection of the Sanbai would be discovered by Woodleaf's people first. Since the Sanbai was killed, he had white Zetsu all over the coastal area to be the first to catch the Sanbai. Half a year ago, the Sanbai was resurrected in the deep sea and was caught by him before he could reach the shore. This made it so that no one in the entire shinobi world knew about the resurrection of the Sanbai except for him. Fortunately, Bordered Soil was confused because of the fact that Black Zetsu pointed out the fact that Black Zetsu was a scum, so he didn't care about the coincidence in Black Zetsu's words. He was just surprised. What a coincidence. Seeing that Bordered Soil's surprise didn't seem to be fake, Black Zetsu relaxed. Ha, God is helping us. Bordered Soil nodded and asked again, when are we going to start with Aizen? Black Zetsu suggested, when the war breaks out, when the Akatsuki's attention is diverted to the war, we will start. Bordered Soil pondered for a moment and said with a sad tone, is it finally coming to this step? Whether it's right or wrong, I will resurrect you, Rin. A week later, Woodleaf Naruto building. Sure enough, I have lost my mind. Danzo put down the mahjong tiles in his hand on the table with a disappointed look on his face. I can't even feel the tiles. For the village, I have given up too much. At this moment, several rapid knocks sounded on the door. Danzo quickly put the mahjong on the table into the drawer, and then tidied up his appearance. Come in. The door was pushed open and Ryuma walked in and said in a panic, Hokage-sama, it's not good, a lot of white monsters have come ashore from the southern coastal area of the Land of Fire. Those monsters are burning and looting all the way to Konoha. White monsters. Danzo didn't care, is it a conspiracy of the Akatsuki or other villages? But it doesn't matter, just use them to show us the power of Woodleaf. By the way, how strong are those monsters? Those monsters is Isama's arse or Chunin's arse. Ryuma added in a hurried tone, and it's not only the Land of Fire that has been attacked, if we count the other countries, the number of monsters that are wreaking havoc in the shinobi world may be hundreds of thousands. Chungo go. Attack. Attack? S? T. T. But it doesn't matter. Danzo quickly calmed down. Even if the enemy is numerous, there's nothing to be afraid of. For strong people like them, it's normal to kill hundreds of Chunin with a single ninjutsu, not to mention a monster like Shimizu Garashi, who can kill tens of thousands of Chunin with a single wood release. Just as he was feeling relaxed, a figure rushed in anxiously. How dare you? Ryoma was about to scold, but after seeing the appearance of the person, he swallowed his words. Not only because of the identity of Sandame Naruto, but also because of the complicated relationship between him and Naruto-sama. Sandame put his hands on the table and asked with a serious face, Danzo, have you heard about those monsters? Danzo smiled contemptuously, Hiruzen, your kung fu is not good enough. You're scared of such a small thing? Sandame didn't care about Danzo's sarcasm and asked in surprise, "Do you have a solution?" Danzo calmly knocked on the table. "The power of a legion is indeed strong, but that's only in the case of strong people restraining each other. Although the Akatsuki has many strong people, it's not to the point where they can fight against the 5 great ninja villages. When they attack Woodleaf, we'll organize all the jonins and offset their numbers with quality." "That's it?" Sandame sighed in disappointment and shook his head. Danzo's mouth twitched. "You have a problem with that?" Sandame sighed. "Those monsters won't come to Woodleaf at all. They've already scattered into countless scattered forces, raging everywhere in the Land of Fire. If the enemy is scattered, it will be difficult for them to play their advantage in terms of quality. Even if they have a powerful ninjutsu that can kill hundreds of people at once, the enemy will only have 5 or 6 people, and their role may be better than ordinary jonins." Danzo subconsciously looked at Ryoma. "That's not what you said just now." Ryoma was a little confused. "I don't know, did they just change their course of action?" Sandame nodded. "Yes, they just changed their course of action." Danzo took a deep breath. "They're trying to dig out our roots." Ryoma couldn't help but ask, "Didn't the Akatsuki boast about being righteous? They won over the civilians and said that they're only targeting the 5 great ninja villages? Why are they attacking the entire ninja world like a madman?" "It's indeed a little strange." Sandame muttered. "The previous actions of the Akatsuki were traceable, but this time I can't see their pattern at all. Have they really accumulated enough power to fight against the entire ninja world?" "Don't worry about that, the key now is the rescue." Danzo methodically analyzed. "The enemy has a great advantage in terms of numbers. No matter how we allocate people, it will be difficult to fill the gap. In that case, it's better to maintain the quality advantage, assign a few more people to each team, and slow down the rescue speed. We can't sacrifice ourselves for the rescue. Moreover, at least 1/3 of the combat power must be left to protect the village, and prevent the Akatsuki from luring us away. Finally, the people in the village have some misunderstandings about me, but now is a time of crisis. I still hope that everyone can unite to overcome the difficulties together. So, I won't assign tasks to them this time, but I'll trouble you to worry about communicating with them." Sandame looked at him in shock. Danzo can't have such awareness, and it's impossible for him to be so polite. "Who are you?" Danzo's eyes twitched wildly and he reluctantly smiled. "People grow up." "That's right. Everyone will grow." Sandame patted Danzo's shoulder with emotion. "Although your growth is slow and you only understand this truth in your 60s, but you've finally grown up. I'm very happy." Hearing this, Danzo's veins bulged. What's with the bitter tone of Hiruzen's father? After Sandame left, Ryoma lowered his voice and asked, "Naruto-sama, do you want to contact the leader of the Akatsuki and ask what's going on?" Danzo coldly snorted. "Of course I want to ask, what do they want?" Chapter 424. Yunnan Village. Listening to Tsutai's report, A's face was gloomy. What the hell do those bastards want to do? Do they want to be enemies with the whole ninja world? Tsutai analyzed. Although the Akatsuki is powerful, it's still not enough to be enemies with the 5 great ninja villages. The reason why they are doing this is probably to disperse our forces and defeat us one by one. Defeat us one by one? A calmed down and tapped the table with one hand. Although the Akatsuki is not the opponent of the 5 great ninja villages, they are stronger than any of us individually. If we send the ninjas of the village to rescue them, it will give them an opportunity to attack us. Tsutai nodded with a dignified expression. If we leave them alone, the whole world except for the 5 great ninja villages will fall into the hands of the Akatsuki, but if we take the initiative to attack, we will fall into their trap. Maybe we can strengthen the barrier. Yuki suggested, discover the enemy in advance and leave more time to summon everyone. It's not useful. Tsutai denied. If they are really determined to invade, they will definitely use those monsters to entangle our people. A slammed the table and said, then let's bring the people of the Lightning Country to Yunnan, we can always live there. Tsutai shook his head slightly, but the fundamental problem is still not solved. If the Akatsuki mobilizes all of their forces, it will be difficult for the village to resist with the current strength. I was dissatisfied. Then what should we do? Tsutai was silent for a moment and sighed. In fact, the safest way is for the 5 great ninja villages to gather together and help each other. This time, everyone in the room was silent. Of course, they know the benefits of gathering together, but the problem is, where should they gather? From the map, There is no doubt that the Fire Country, which occupies the center of the map, is the most suitable place. But the demon disaster can't be solved in a day or two. In the long run, they are worried that the village will become a part of the Fire Country. When the war is over, their home will be gone. Rock Crypsis Village. What should we do? Should we take the initiative to move closer to Woodleaf and form a united front of the 5 great ninja villages? Yellow Soil hesitated. But we are not San Crypsis after all. Everyone should be more resistant to this kind of thing. Everyone in the room nodded with a complicated look on their faces. Although they no longer have the idea of targeting Konoha, they still have the cheek to please Konoha, which is still beyond their psychological endurance. In fact, you don't have to be too nervous. Anoki laughed. While you are worried, the Akatsuki is also afraid. Scared? Kitsuchi frowned slightly and quickly understood. I know they have the strength to attack any shinobi village, but at the same time, they also gave Shimizu Garashi the opportunity to catch them all in one fell swoop. Han also came to a realization. No wonder they've only sent out those demonic creatures, but none of the higher-ups have shown up. Anoki laughed. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. Since Shimizu Garashi wants to be a hero, then let him be. In the illusory space, 10 figures were standing around. Everyone looked at Bordered Soil and Kuroto with great interest. Obviously, they knew what today's meeting was about. In this silent atmosphere, Yahiko asked, Hoodlum, Zetsu, why did the demonic army suddenly riot? Black Zetsu sighed, I'm sorry, we overestimated the control of the Ghetto Mazo. After the number of demonic creatures exceeded the critical point, they suddenly lost control. Lost control? Yahiko's voice was low. You didn't say that those demonic creatures could lose control. Black Zetsu explained, the ancient records we found didn't mention anything about losing control. Now that I think about it, it may be that the Ghetto Mazo in the ancient records was in a fully charged state, so there was no such worry. Fully charged state? Conan was puzzled. It's the state of all tailed beasts. Black Zetsu shrugged, didn't I say? The Ghetto Mazo is a cage used by the Sage of the Six Paths to imprison and tame the tailed beasts as a power source. Yahiko pondered, you mean we have to capture 9 tailed beasts to restore control of those demonic creatures? I don't know. Black Zetsu pretended not to care, but from Madara's research it should be like this, right? However, they naturally wouldn't choose to believe his words. Yahiko asked, what evidence do you have? It's easy to prove that the Ghetto Mazo is a tailed beast cage. Its 9 closed eyes correspond to the 9 tailed beasts. As long as a tailed beast is put in, the corresponding eyes will open. Black Zetsu scratched his head and said, as for the tailed beasts, I don't know how to prove it, or, let's catch a tailed beast and put it in first? Yahiko pondered, do you want to catch a tailed beast to test it? There's no need to trouble you, leader. Black Zetsu smiled, Hoodlum and I just caught the resurrected Sanbai 2 days ago. Yahiko squinted his eyes and looked at him deeply, then I'll trouble you. Seeing that they finished their discussion, Raiga couldn't help but say, shouldn't we think about a way out? Controlling the demonic creatures requires the power of a tailed beast. Not to mention whether the 5 great ninja villages will believe it. Even if they believe it, it's absolutely impossible for such a powerful force to be in our hands. So, whether we can save the situation or not, war is inevitable. Nagato nodded in agreement. Yes, once the barely maintained balance is broken, it's impossible to return to the past. Now is not the best time to start a war, but the longer we wait, the worse the opportunity will be. Yes, we have to do it as soon as possible. Aizen agreed. Now, the entire ninja world thinks that the demonic creatures' riot is our conspiracy. We can take advantage of their fear and dread to launch our action. If we let them know that even we can't control those demonic creatures, our deterrence will be greatly reduced. In that case, it seems that we shouldn't hesitate. Kisame asked, but how are we going to start the war? First, concentrate our forces on attacking a ninja village? Raiga hesitated. Wouldn't it give Qingshui Shushi a chance if we turn from the shadows to the light? Nagato said in a deep voice, to achieve the goals of the organization, we have to go on the stage. Seeing that the focus of the war had changed, Black Zetsu hurriedly said, in fact, the key to breaking the situation is the tailed beasts. Only by regaining control of the demonic army can we become a powerful organization that the ninja world fears, not a commander with only 10 people. Moreover, after absorbing the 9-tailed beasts, the Ghetto Mazo's strength will increase exponentially. Even Shimizu Garashi may not be its opponent. So, to achieve the goal of the organization, the key lies on the tailed beasts. That you're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.